One. And we are recording Mr. Reese Tomlin, who directed, produced, created all that good shit. Infinite Dream, documentary, one of the better ones I've seen. On 9/11, available. Well, I watched it on BitChute. I'm not sure where else it is available in your website, and I'll put it in there. I believe it's a Dream Eskimo or Dream Eskimo or whatever it is. But because last one was short, and I felt like we had a decently deep rabbit hole that we could just swan dive down, and I robbed us of that opportunity by being a shithead and only having you on for 45 minutes last week. But real quick,
No, that was great.
Reese, introduce yourself, man. Tell everybody who you are.
Yeah, same guy.
Same guys last week.
Just a director and podcaster, amongst other things. I mean, that's how people know me. And yeah, you can find my latest film, Lockfire, on dreameskimo.com. It's there for stability. And I know that last time I kind of took us down that depression rabbit hole, but if you had, I wanted to give you that opportunity if you had any questions or whatever. I won't rob you of that, so you can guide it.
No, no, man, it's not a depression rabbit hole. It's the overwhelming reality in front of us. It's
Well, that's how we view it because definitely I got some insight into your persona and you and mine, I'm sure. But most people hear that and it's like, for example, the plebeians out there, they hear these theories for the first time and they start wading into those waters. I think initially, I'm no different. Initially, when I started pursuing it in a serious sense, there was kind of an air of existential dread that was about that. Some people can't plow through that because they're not as interested in the truth or the truth about historical events or not being lied to by the system that benefits them so well, oftentimes. And some of us are different and want to know what's actually happening because we think it's relevant or we want to alter the future, perhaps. And so even some people that have already, taken it, they have this willful ignorance or they don't understand just exactly how varied the power dynamic is. And so they think if they do a couple things correct, they win. And we're kind of shitting on that by being realists. I mean, I'm a realist, but we have to understand the situation we're in before you can actually take appropriate action. So,
and that's that always brings me back to I love Tim Dillon. I talk about him all the time. He's really the only podcast I listen to. I mean, and he is the black pillar of all black pillars. I just think he's the funniest person alive. But none of this is important. A guy he used to talk about years and years ago, and then he finally interviewed him was I can't even remember his name. Nick Bryant, author of the Franklin Scandal. And it is a
mm,
and it is a this guy is a former BBC reporter, like multiple awards, like 20-year veteran of. I mean, this guy isn't me screaming in a bedroom. This is like an actual esteemed reporter who wrote the book about child sex trafficking, its use as political leverage of blackmail, of setting up penthouses in DC with, two-way mirrors, hidden cameras, and really all of the receipts behind it. And and it seems so overwhelming because some of the names dropped. I mean, it's like H.W. Bush and like the CIA, and you're like, what are we possibly going to do about it? And he kind of, and I might have said this to you last week, but he said something towards the end of the interview, and he goes, we cannot possibly diagnose it until we address what the problem is. And to me, that 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 is an undeniable truth. You have to, at the very least, no matter how fucked the situation is, you've got to at least survey the landscape, see what the situation, no matter how blackpilling it is, and then say what it is before you can even begin to hope to take your first step. So that's where I think a lot of this importance is. And then the other thing that's always had me is there are those like moments in life where you see something that it is a new variable or a fact that you can never erase from your mind. Be it the first time you see your girlfriend acting sketchy with like who she's texting or something. Or, you see your friend, whatever, he's the guy that has the perfect grades. Then you realize like, oh, he's using his phone during whatever it is, just a tiny thing that
Mhm.
shifts the model of your world. And you might not want to look at it. You might not. What are the implications? Oh, the fucking smartest guy in the class is cheating, and how the fuck am I going to get into med school going against that? Or is my girlfriend cheating on, or whatever? But you can't remove them. They're a splinter in your mind. And I think the first one that I ever saw was was just like a NASA photograph of Ground Zero. And this wasn't some, check it out. I think it was in like Popular Mechanics. And it was just I just remember I was like on the toilet in middle school looking at it. And it was just like it was a thermal map of the wreckage, on like the 5-year anniversary of 9/11. And I was just like looking at like the heat map. And then I was like, well, one, a fire doesn't get hotter like weeks later. That's just
Right.
thermodynamics. But then it was also like looking at like the highest center core of it, and then like the top burning temperature of jet fuel. I know that's like the most jet fuel doesn't melt Steve. I get the meme quality of it, but like that was the first time I ever looked at. I was like, oh, what we're being told isn't accurate. And that doesn't mean that I all of a sudden know what's going on. It just means that there is a lie. And that was kind of the first like splinter in my brain that I was like, whatever it is, I don't know what the truth is, but I don't think it's what we're being told. So to kind of just so I'm not like verbally raping you, what what really got you to start pulling on the thread?
It was that same thing. It was molten steel. It is meme worthy, but it's
Sure.
probably by design because it is the hardest scientific evidence. I mean, there are many things like 9/11. I'm a student of the crime, but every time you look at it with a fresh pair of eyes, or somebody sends you something, it's like I did not know that because there's so many players and avenues involved. But at the core, yeah, it's got to be the molten steel because jet fuel tops out at 1800 degrees Fahrenheit, but to melt steel you got to reach 2300. So that's a 500-degree delta. And then on top of that, to actually boil steel, what's the number? I want to say 2750, maybe even over 3000. It may be 3000 degrees Fahrenheit or something like that. And although that's not something you can see, so it's not as visceral, they did collect dust samples from, people that I trust, like Dr. Stephen Jones, who's not a shill, in my opinion, got fired from his job at BYU, didn't become a recurring limited hangout or anything like that. But many people offered up dust samples that they kept as forms of memorabilia from 9/11, and they studied the samples. They found boiled iron. Iron is the significant component of steel. And this is significantly beyond the heat index of what jet fuel can accomplish, or certainly office fires. What type of accelerant, what type of inferno agent was in the towers to cause this phenomenon? And so, yeah, that was, once, like Zeitgeist and Loose Change Final Cut, which is a good movie, very well
Mm-hmm.
narrated, came out in 2000, I want to say 11 or 10. That last version is very quality, although they don't talk about Israel. Neither of those movies. It does exemplify the case of, you have images and video of molten steel here, and we're just asking why, and now we're giving you a possible explanation, which is, of course, weaponized form of thermite.
Mm-hmm.
And that probably is the most plausible, considering, I don't know for a fact about what they used to cut those buildings down, or the core columns or anything. I would say it probably is nanothermite, but the point is it's not planes.
Yeah.
And you can find just an endless amount of contradictions. So yeah, when I was looking at some of these core columns that are cut, especially at a 45-degree angle, as in demolition fashion, and very clean cuts
Mm-hmm.
and molten steel rolling off, and then you start looking at everything else with that frame of mind as your baseline, and you're like, oh shit, like this is actually, if I pitched this story, the official narrative, to a Hollywood executive, I would get laughed out of the office. Oh my God, we've been fucking lied to. And both stories are crazy. Films don't talk too much about false flags. They don't like to purvey that ideology too much
Even that
because,
idea they don't like to float, even in
right,
fiction.
because it can have kinetic energy. People start looking at that. Is this an inside job? I mean, like the term inside job didn't come from 9/11, like employers used to use that. Who stole this? Oh, it's probably an inside
Yeah,
job.
embezzling, stock manipulation. Yeah.
Exactly. So it wasn't a first off. It's been heard of, but not really on the grand scale. Now they did before 9/11 make all those movies. I think perhaps we talked about that last week, but all those movies in the 90s about hijackings,
Mm-hmm.
which was like before 9/11, I think 1992 was the previous one that like an actual hijacking occurred. And so it wasn't a big concept to Americans. You say that you do 9/11 without the movies, like, wait, what? So the pilots went bonkers, but we were propagandized with movies like Con Air,
Mm-hmm.
Executive Decision, um, even Escape from LA or Escape from New York.
Escape
It
from New
had
York.
some,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so they were using that term. It's been hijacked or it's been skyjacked. uh, all the pieces of the puzzle start falling into place, and this is a massive, bizarro, weird fucking thing. Occam's razor doesn't apply here, as in the simplest explanation is the answer. It is very complicated. Some geniuses put it together, no doubt, not insulting their intellect, but they're
Oh yeah,
only able to do it because the people are pretty docile and
yeah.
dumb, comparatively speaking. So, yeah, in answer to your question, it was the molten steel as well. It sent goosebumps up the sides of my arms the moment I knew for a fact.
It's yeah. No, then that's an important distinction. Is demons from hell, but they're smart. Like we
Right.
tend to have this thing where if you give them one negative characteristic, you almost feel like you have to give them all negative character. I don't like this president and he's stupid. And it's like, no, you don't have to like him. You don't have to like him. You don't get to the and if let's say Biden's brain dead, even being a proxy front for some deeper group, you still don't get that. You don't get to be that guy, that proxy by accident, right? So it's demons from hell, but they're intelligent. And there were a lot of hijackings in like the 70s. I think most notable is DB Cooper, but it kind of all I think that was the last significant one, right? So you could say they
Well,
almost
it
put that
wasn't a hijacking. It was he just stole it and jumped
hostage.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah, he,
Yeah.
he didn't like take over the cockpit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Skyjackings, they did occur a lot in the 70s and 80s, but it was a Palestinian concept, which
Uh-huh.
is also an important detail.
Yeah.
The raid on Entebbe, for example, the Palestinians used to take over airplanes that were flying around Europe and the Middle East that had a lot of Israelis on board and take them hostage and demand, a prisoner exchange.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
DB Cooper was wild. I think he had like a grenade or something.
I love that story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that guy was hardcore. Um, but even so, again to quote Tim Dillon, I really need to listen to other comedians, so I stopped quoting him.
And
But
is
like
he a comedian?
I don't
Tim
I'll
Dillon?
gotta be honest, never watched his comedy. I listen to his podcast.
So he's so he's just kind of like, I
He's
don't see the reason I don't like him is because, like, didn't so he's the one that just had Kanye West on his show, right? He walked
I don't
off.
no. That was Tim Pool.
Tim Pool.
No, fuck Tim. I
Okay.
can't stand him.
Oh,
Um
gotcha. Okay, okay.
no, Tim Dillon's like a morbidly obese gay comedian. And even now,
Oh, he's on Rogan.
he's been on Rogan a couple times. He
Okay.
started a podcast in 2016. I don't even listen to his. He did a show when it was just him and he was broke and no one knew who he was. He was a recovering alcoholic and pillhead, and he did a show with another morbidly obese comedian named Ray Kump with a speech impediment. Between 2016 and 2019, I think they did like 100 episodes, and they're just fat black pilled losers, but both undeniably intelligent and are like it's such like a weird if you like wrote this character you'd probably get an award because like they're just wildly intelligent and up to date on like they interviewed like Russ Baker, they interviewed like everything, the Family of Secrets, Devil's Chessboard, David Talbot. They went down the whole and they're kind of some of the ones they got me into Nick Bryan. They got me into Operation Vigilant Guardian, running the operation on 9/11.
Mm.
And then he went on Rogan and he's become like a millionaire. And I kind of think his new shit sucks. But I genuinely love his like 2016, 2019 fat, angry Tim Dillon. He's still
The
fat.
the first the first time I saw him, because I know who you're talking about now, he
Yeah.
called Pete Buttigieg CIA, and
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Mayor
that
Pete.
was
Yeah.
that was a stand up. I think he was in LA.
Oh yeah, yeah. No.
And yeah, and I was like, thank you.
Yeah,
Somebody that knows. Thank you.
yeah,
That guy is the most obvious agent. He actually had to come out and deny he was CIA twice,
yeah. I
you
was
know?
actually listening to an old episode where he's like, "This guy's so clearly a Langley plant. He's clean. He's buttoned up." No, I love, but
I'll go deeper. I think on Pete Buttigieg. First of all, I just learned the other day that his husband, his name is Chasten, which is another. So I think this is what they do with certain guys like that. He's the first um, openly gay presidential candidate, right?
mm-hmm,
It made a serious run.
mm-hmm,
His name is, people kept mispronouncing it, and he kept people in the dark. He wouldn't pronounce it himself for years. Like Ron Paul used to say, booty judge.
booty.
So it's close enough, anyway. He's the mayor. He was the mayor. Now he's like director of transport or something like that. But he
Yeah,
was the mayor of South Bend, Indiana.
Vienna. Yeah,
Okay. He worked for the CIA, at least in two operations. And his name is But I Judge. And I really think that he's probably some orphan boy that they raised with a new name, a fabricated name, like from birth.
yeah.
And now they're using him. And he's got
Absolutely.
this whole totally phony baloney. And his husband's name is a play on words for chastity.
Uh
I
huh.
mean, I see this stuff over and over again. I pay attention to the names. It's definitely, there's an occultist
A
aspect to
thousand
everything
percent.
that they do,
There's
you know?
1,000% there is. Um, but Tim Dillon, there's one analogy he uses. He's like, it's what is it like slalom skiing, where you're going back and forth between like the poles.
Yeah.
He's like, whenever you're trying to get to the truth of something, you got to watch out for for like the holes on either side. You got to avoid the mounds because a lot of them are placed there purposely by powers that be, misinformation. So like even with 9/11, I always so like the first thing that happens is if you bring up, you're like, yeah, did you know like the core, like the fire, like an old like a NASA thermal image is just like it's hotter than anything it could. Well, you know that you don't need to melt steel, you just need to lower its temp. I'm like, I get that. No, I understand that, but that doesn't address the molten part. And it's like, well, well, who did it then? What you're saying they did? I'm not saying who did it. All I'm saying is it's not the truth. We don't know what the truth. Oh, so you're saying the planes are hijacked? I never said that. Oh, you're saying so Israelis put thermite in it? I never said that. You're like, let's just look at the physical events happened that over 102 minutes in that what 1.5, 2 acres of land in Lower Manhattan on the day of the calendar that we use and we call it September 11th, 2001. Like I
Mm.
always have to like for me like bring it back to that. I'm like what happened there? And a lot of people kind of will jump around and I think that is where people can very easily then justify it to themselves. You're like, you're what? You're right. What am I saying? Hijacked, remote controlled planes. Fuck this. And it's no, 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 no. And I'm not saying you're doing that. I'm just in general. My criticism of the criticism is what I said is immediately they try to find an off ramp, try to find an off ramp, trying to escape valve. No, we're just looking at is it Dick Cheney pulling the strings? I don't know. Was this the CIA? Was this a corporation? Was this Israel using America so that we would then go attack their enemies? Was this China? I don't know. All I'm saying is something happened and the official narrative is not the truth. And I think as long as you have that fact, where somewhere in the code, someone tried to tell you that 1+1 is 3, you have to keep going back to that splinter and going, this is not accurate. Therefore, everything rippling out, if you made a perfect simulation of the universe, but you miscoded the gravitational force by a decimal point, it
Mm.
would ripple outwards to where everything was wrong. Planets wouldn't form the right way, stars wouldn't form, everything would be fucked. It might even be pretty close. We might even look pretty close but it's like a butterfly effect. Don't go squash a bug 100 million years ago. Fast forward and Rome never existed, right? The same thing
Right.
happens with models of reality and of events. You just have to go and look at and go, did you know this happened? Like, why did this happen? Why is that? You know,
Yeah.
in 1959, chief of CIA counterintelligence James Jesus Angleton, a vowed Zionist, if there's a great book called The Ghost by Jefferson Morley, they had a file on Lee Harvey Oswald starting in 1959. And like I forget what it's called. It's like a 401 or a 501, but it's the like of the utmost importance file. It's not just normal Cold War paranoia. It's like the highest level file that you can have on someone in terms of they're a person of interest. 4 years prior. To me, that's the splinter for JFK. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Angleton is such an interesting character.
Wild.
The king of disinformation, and it's actually funny because they wrote a book that's based on him called The Good Shepherd,
Okay.
and it was actually a movie made by Robert De Niro, and I think it's more or less um, genuine in character, the film, because like De Niro, they put out a lot of propaganda, and the CIA was definitely monitoring it because it's a movie about the origins of the CIA. But it goes through, I posted a clip from it on my YouTube back when I had one, where, see, I've always had an obsession with counterintelligence or what you're describing, disinformation, because I run into that roadblock time and time again. So that is basically just the logical correct way to go about things. And you described it and you laid it out, but you would also be under that predicate that people are as logical thinking as you are. And that is a mistake. I've learned that many times, and they will try and find ways out of it. And the best way is through counterintelligence. It's COINTELPRO starts as an
Mm-hmm.
objective against a quantifiable international enemy, but then the robber barons have turned it into something domestic and really, really vile.
Shut down all
Operation
resistance.
Mockingbird.
Yeah.
We've all heard of that. Um, that film though had a part where his mentor back in the OSS, when he's working in, I
Mm-hmm.
think, Berlin in World War II, he's getting trained in how to disinform the enemy, and so he puts out a press statement. It's like, okay, we've heard from doctors that, guess what, Adolf Hitler has syphilis. And so they start doing that just to buzz the radar for no other reason than to just muddy the water.
Mm-hmm.
And so you run into it time and time again. And so for the past few years, the most interesting, I don't think about it a lot anymore. I've made my statement about 9/11, but for sure, aside from Benjamin Netanyahu himself, the most interesting character to me is Philip Zelikow. Philip Zelikow ran the commission report. So initially, they wanted Henry Kissinger,
Uh-huh.
the god of death, right?
The
And
God of truth. How dare you? The God of truth and justice.
right. Oh, yes. I mean, the things he's done. And I think
Timothy Kissinger.
he's probably one of the most intelligent people that we've had as state operators,
Oh shit.
because not only is he like just demonstrably smart and says like incredibly, you know, conniving things, but he's also doing it while simultaneously knowing everything he says is bullshit. And
Oh
so
yeah.
I'm looking at this guy watching his interviews. I'm like, if I didn't know he was lying, I'd probably believe this motherfucker.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
it's amazing. This guy, can't wait till he dies. He looks like a
I
toad,
think he's
but
99.
he's there, dude. They're keeping him alive with some type of shit.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, that's a different story. But you notice these guys never get cancer.
Yeah, you notice that they
Um,
always live to their fucking 100 and forever. I mean, what was
David
HW?
Rockefeller.
Oh yeah, he had
Yeah,
like 6 heart transplants. There is, I mean, listen, in the human form, being, I guess, a Satanist occultist does pay off. It's just the
right.
whole eternity thing. I don't think it's too good. Sorry, keep going.
Oh, I know that they have cures for cancer. For example, that's just one example that they haven't released to the public. I mean, as far as commercialized to the public, but like we know about it. Dr. Brzezinski cured cancer like 40 years ago, gene targeted therapy. It cured most human cancers, but he's always logged up with bogus lawsuits. Um, Back to Zelikow. Zelikow just got nominated for the position after the Jersey Girls denied Kissinger his position and asked him in an office meeting, do you represent anybody with his advice firm? It's very ominous and ambiguous, right? He gives
Isn't
advice.
isn't it the
Do,
Carlisle group?
no, but
Isn't
no,
that
it's his own
Kissinger?
firm.
Oh,
It's
sorry.
like the Kissinger Advice Corp, something like that, something evil,
Yeah.
something stupid. And they're like, "Do you represent anybody with the last name Bin Laden?" And he like left the meeting, so that would be a conflict of interest, right? Um, so Bush just turns around and goes, "We're not doing this, whole pitchfork thing, and I nominate somebody, and you guys tell me why he's bogus. We're just going to use Zelikow." Zelikow was very intimately connected with the Bush administration, wrote a book with Condoleezza Rice, was a member of that infamous society or think tank, PNAC, that called
Project for
for
a New American Century. Absent a cataclysmic event, absent a new Pearl Harbor, the United States won't be able
right.
to posture it.
We need a transformative event like Pearl Harbor. He helped write that.
Jesus
But
Christ.
what's more interesting about him, he was like in his 50s at that time. Um, when he was in college at Rice University, he wrote a thesis paper called The Creation and Maintenance of the Public Myth. That was actually the name of the paper.
Hmm.
And so this guy has spent his entire adult life learning the nuances to getting away with propagandizing the people and creating and maintaining. Both are important. We're still in the maintenance phase on things like 9/11, always will be, even on Pearl Harbor and JFK. Creating and maintaining public myths. His word, his paper. And so you can see him when he's getting interviewed and stuff. He actually openly makes fun of the idea of a conspiracy. But his underlings that worked for him, that some of them weren't in on it all the way, they came out, wrote books, gave interviews about how he came into the office before he had looked at any of the evidence, to pin it on bin Laden, with that presupposition and that determination to pin the already framed party that we were literally in a war with at that time, the ambiguous Middle East enemy. He had it written already with subsections and sub-subsections according to other nominees on his board, the 9/11 Commission. And then he just picked and chose various elements of the 9/11 story to fit his prearrangement, and then openly makes fun of the idea of a conspiracy, saying, "Well, I couldn't get away with it because I had too many colleagues." This man is insane. This man is a Jew. This man is literally a dual national American Israeli. And so that, of course, I think he's a scumbag and I think he should rot. But I do like to read about these people and sort of try and get into their mindset to understand them, and that's why I find that to me the most abstract and fascinating component of 9/11, the psychological purveyance of and being able to hold up such bullshit. It is such a bullshit fucking story. 19 hijackers, 4 airplanes. He pulled that off. He seared it into the minds.
It's it's impressive, is what it is.
Yeah.
It's impressive that they're capable of. I think it was Dr. McCullough, who I love because Dr. McCullough has taken the red pill with no hesitation. I first interviewed him like last summer. And he's like, I'm not sure what this is. I think this is just Pfizer being a corporate. Fast forward a year and a half later, he's like, it's a DARPA program. They're trying to reduce, they're trying to reduce like our lifespan. This is, but when he was on Rogan, I think he talked about, and it's why we like what are the components to not accepting the truth. And the first is just having like an uninformed public, right? That's the easiest one. It's you don't have to put people to sleep if they've never woken up. And it's just, and I don't mean that in some derogatory way, because by definition, if you're unaware of what's going on, you're not a bad person. You've been successfully hit. I think I was successfully hypnotized for the majority of my life. I don't think I'm a bad person. I think I had the wool pulled over my eyes. The second is fear of ostracization or a social outcast. Oh,
Mm,
so you believe in 9/11 conspiracies? Let me think. You think Trump won the election? You think aliens killed JFK? No, okay, fuck off. No, I just want to be part of it. I've never had a problem with being that person. I don't give a
right.
shit. I just don't. I've never cared about being weird. I don't give a shit. I just
Right.
personally, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
Um,
that's an emotion I can't relate to either.
yeah,
The other stuff about like being a bad person if you don't get vaccinated. On a certain level, I can get that, but as far as just an image thing, I couldn't care less.
We can get into that in a second. The pandemic is definitely another step in the mastery of their own evolution on how to deliver the med, right? Because now you're hurting others. But in terms of just like, dude, I was a straight A student, like not drinking, not smoking, living in a frat house, studying to be a doctor and getting to medical school. You don't give a fuck when everyone's like, "Why aren't you partying? Why aren't you doing this? Why you?" I was building like Lego trains into high school. I didn't give a shit. I started working out on my
Mm-hmm.
dad's Bowflex in seventh grade because I was like, I just want to build muscle, and everyone's like, "Ew, what you like, girls?" Like, I've never given a fuck about anything. I just don't. I just doesn't even. It's not even some like, well, I'm gonna stand up for the truth regardless of what. I just like you. It doesn't even register. I'm just like, well, what will people think? I don't. I don't care. What fuck if I care? Um,
Right.
so the social outcast, and then the third is fear fear of the implications, right? So what does it mean if this is going on? What does it mean if I, and this isn't, I love my two brothers, so this is a terrible example, but I'll use it anyway. What does it start to mean if you realize things go missing only when like your older brother visits you? And again, my older brother's a great fucking guy, so if he's watching this, he's probably not. This is just a bad example. Sorry, I'm throwing you under the bus. The implications would be, how come whenever he's here, like money goes missing? Is my own brother stealing from me? Like that can't be it. Or there's no way my fiance is cheating. This is my fiance.
Mm.
No, it can't be. And it's these right. You kind of hear that about people with like repressed memories. What's the implication that your grandfather raped you? Not my grand. That's it's grand. That's the demonic nature of these people. Is they know they hide behind. No, right? Catholic priests. What are you? You're really trying to say priests are raping?
Right. Yeah.
Hey, man. And there is that, and I get it. No one wants to look at it. You know, it's not a fun thing to acknowledge. But all those mixed together, an uninformed populace, fear of being a social outcast, and then the fear of the implications. What does it mean? Those
See,
are
I would say that that actually, because I've thought about that exact same thing, and I found what's true most likely is that smart people, or the smarter the person is, the harder they are. Unless they have an innate desire to figure it out, the harder it is to convert them for that very reason.
oh yeah,
And I'll say, I think most likely it's because, let's say you put um, a dummy and a smart kid into a fascist environment. Which one's going to become a fascist quicker? The smart person, because he's going to learn the rules and he's going to understand the
how to
concepts
operate in the environment.
and deeper levels of understanding, everything like that. You start to fuck with that, um, their worldview, their perception of how things should work. Uh, it's going to be it's a taxing and laborious process because they have to, so much stuff is predicated on their understanding that this is the way it works. You're challenging that. It's like foundational, like a mental foundation that they're having to rebuild. And so they'll be very resistant to it. And they're certain that they've got it figured out and what they believe is true. A dumb person, and the example I'll give to substantiate this is Alex Jones has plenty of fans. Alex Jones has said a lot of true things at one point in time before his contrived downfall that he's experiencing right now. He was the most popular radio show host in the country.
Mm-hmm.
He's a dummy, though. Like, again, just visually and everything else, he's a dummy. He comes off as a dummy. I think that's why they chose him. I think he's a plant, obviously. That's what I think.
Sure.
And so he's got a lot of followers. At the same time, he doesn't present a lot of evidence. People just head nod. And so if you take the average IQ of Jones fans versus the average IQ of somebody that may not be as, symbolically true, you're probably going to get a lower IQ with the Jones fans. Uh, Stated wise, Jones fans are closer to me than like, CNN fans, obviously,
Sure.
but mental horsepower. probably more the CNN people, and I hate to say it, but they've just never challenged their worldview. Those people that get drawn into things, there's a lot of disinformation out there. The reptilian people,
Hmm.
they're not the highest, quality when it comes to brain power. So, um, I find it to be my favorite achievement through my life when I've been able to at least get the gears going with some very respectable people. I'll just give one brief example. I knew this psychiatrist when I was living in Los Angeles, and I was kind of ranting to him about 9/11, but I made a point about Building 7. And then, like, over that weekend, he texted me. It was like one of the smartest people I know, right? He texted me. He's like, I did some further reading. I wasn't expecting him to about Building 7. And then he was going into the details and how, what's that organization called?
NIST,
The
NEST,
structural
or
NIST,
yeah,
yeah,
the NIST
National
report.
Institute of Standard and Technology. He's like, they didn't release the parameters for their model when they recreated it. And it came down in the afternoon. I think it had to have been blown up with bombs. And I was like, and that was very difficult. And it was multiple conversations. But on the last one, I got to him. But I do remember seeing his face where he's like saying one thing and I have a response to it, and the gears start turning, and he doesn't like what it's adding up to, you know? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think for that the implications, a lot of people can't even go into the territory because of what you're talking about, because that's the big daddy. That's government. You're talking
It's
about
it's
government in America? Oh, I don't want to hear it, dude.
it's not like, and that's the other thing, like it's not fun. Like there's no I told you. There's no I told you it's a bunch of satanic pedophiles hell bent on using the military industrial complex and the intelligence community to bulldoze the world's population and extract natural resources. Like, what do
Yeah,
you like? I'm not happy with the conclusion. When
right,
you sit down with
right.
your brothers and you're like 7, you're like, I don't think Santa's real. Shut up. No, I think it's dad. Like, you don't like it,
Yeah,
you're not, no part of you is
yeah,
like, good job. You're like, oh fuck. You're like, because now you've started the downhill slope of it's only a couple of years till you realize like, oh, the church is full of pedophiles and life isn't fair, right? You're
right.
leaving that virgin childhood. Um,
It's a very symbiotic experience. I've done a podcast about Santa Claus, and I reference that as when you debunk a public myth. I found it, I guess technically people will categorize me as an atheist. I'm at least agnostic. I don't believe in the 9/11 official narrative. Yeah, the first personal case study was definitely figuring out Santa Claus. And it was,
it's your
as a
first.
kid, it's stupid. Of course, we talk about it now, but as a kid, it was devastating,
Absolutely.
you
It's
know.
absolutely it is. And I mean, but then there's also like, for me, it's like people always ask why do I have the American flag behind me? If everything I talk about is just how it's demons,
Mm,
because I appreciate the idea of it. I appreciate a place where you can be free to practice your religion or don't practice at all. You're free to say whatever you want and you're free to stay strapped. I like that idea. It doesn't mean I like the idea of the Ten Commandments. I like the idea of do unto others is that's not a bad infrastructure to live by. I don't I don't hold up a picture of like the Roman Catholic Church behind me and the Vatican made out of 100 tons of gold and diamond and sapphire, but it's okay to understand what it means. I don't think I will, but if I ever have kids, yeah, I'll happily see them get to appreciate the years of enjoying the idea of Santa Claus. Like it's so it doesn't mean completely fall down the black hole. But to go back to what you said about the psychiatrist and smart people and dumb people, that is, I think, what really kind of fucked with me seeing COVID. Is right, like as a pre-med guy in college, and I got into medical school, and because I'm a self-jerking, egotistical douchebag, I always mention it. I got into a medical school where 15,000 people applied and 100 got in, and I was one of them. And I always loved that. And the friends I had that were also pre-med were so much smarter than me. They didn't study nearly as much. But what I always appreciated about them, and I think it's maybe what gave me a false view on the medical community, is the few friends I had that were actually pre-med, not some dipshit sorority girl, but like actually pre-med, and they are now all like surgeons. is, I'll say three of them, all super upstanding people, all super genuinely people I looked up to, even though they're shitheads like me. And they're all wildly intelligent in their own right. You know, we'd be sitting down and I'd say something about JFK and someone would be like, "Oh, you don't believe in that?" And like the friend who's now a doctor would be like, "No, I why wouldn't it have happened? Like why wouldn't an entrenched power structure take out the guy who wanted to work with the Soviets?" And it was like, "Oh, it's not just that they're good at memorizing molecular biology. They seem to have a base level horsepower to examine all things." And even better, I remember one time I was like super high with my buddy, and I was like, "You are like the smartest person I know." I was like, you could be like an investment banker and be like retired in 5 years." And he's like, "Well,
Mm.
he's like, I have a strong connection with God, and I think my purpose here is to, you know, become a doctor and probably never make as much as I could, but I think that's my purpose on earth." And I'm like, that I respect the fuck out of that. Um, what really got me with COVID was so then I delusionally have gone through my life like using my sample size of three people. I'm like, doctors are the smartest people and the best people. I think I was actually just by chance around like three very above average good people. But and that's not to say that doctors aren't good people, but seeing kind of COVID has shed light on 9/11 for me because like I've seen the smartest doctors been like, "Yeah, it's safe and effective." And I'm like, "No, but I this is like 2020, but before I even really gave a fuck about it, I was like, they're saying it doesn't like work though. It doesn't pass like you can still get it." They'd be like, "Yeah, no, it's safe and effective." I'm like, I'm looking at the VAERS thing though, and like there's like 100 times more deaths in the last month than there has been in 30 years. And they've been like, "Listen, it's a pandemic." And I'm like, I expect that from other people. But I now know improperly held doctors as this like highest castes of like high priests. And now I'm like, oh, they are geniuses in their own field, but a lot of it also comes to they've become these respectful people that you defer choices to, and they don't want to rock their boat of these institutions, the FDA, the CDC, the WHO, whatever, because it would mean you're not as smart as you think you are. And two, it would mean maybe everything else I know is wrong. And to see them go along with it, now I look back at something like 9/11 and I'm like, it's probably not the dumb people that were the easiest to fool. It was probably, you know, well respected engineers with seven-figure jobs who are, you know, whatever, they design fucking suspension bridges and they read the NIST
Right.
report and they're like, well, there's the thing. And you
Well,
never
with
question it.
that too, well, the cover up phase, there's no excuse for that. If somebody's actively covering it up, I have no
No,
respect
no,
for
no,
them.
no, no.
Whatever, no, I
If they're
know
part of the cover up, no, they're demons from hell. Yeah, no.
whatever their reasoning is, I got nothing. As far as like the components of uh putting their ducks in a row and pulling off things like 9/11, not everybody knew what they were doing. Like I'm sure that a lot of people that placed bombs, maybe not the Israeli students, but certain people are even coating the floors with nanothermitic material. They were probably told it was asbestos sealant or something like that. They didn't
Yeah.
even know what they were doing. You know what I mean? With COVID, you can see a lot of similarities. And first of all, I want to address, yeah, with the doctors. I mean, like my father was a surgeon, so they are good people, but they do become accustomed to a lifestyle at a certain point.
Sure.
And in the early stages, the young doctors, you know this better than anybody, student loans are expensive. I don't know if you took them out, but how are they going to pay those off if they get fired for talking shit,
You're
you
not.
know?
You're not
So
paying them off.
and we've heard that there have been a collective of honorable doctors. Most of them, unfortunately, have come outside of the United States, from what I can tell. Germany specifically, there's a few I saw translated interviews.
Reinhard Fuller,
Microbiologists.
Zelenska. I think he died last year.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
And so they go through these things, and they all get fired or disciplined one way or another. Severe disciplinary action against them from the state board here in America. And it's like I get the reasoning. I may not respect it, but I get why they go along with it. And then the other aspect too is those are like overriding concepts. And so even hinting at the idea a little bit or considering that there's something not right here gets shut down immediately. And
Mm,
they keep themselves from even believing in something else.
yeah.
Um, but I go back to the Manhattan Project whenever I'm talking about those things, the players, the worker bees, or even on the managerial level, how things operate to like pull a grand conspiracy off. It doesn't mean every single person is a Satan worshiper or a Shabbos goy.
Yeah.
It means they've been fooled as well. Like the people, there were very few. Oppenheimer knew they were building an atomic bomb, but these
Oppenheimer,
other
Leslie
people
Groves, and FDR. Truman didn't know until 13 days after he became the president.
and the other people that came up with the idea at
Yeah.
Bohemian Grove,
Yeah.
you know. But the scientists, they're like building small pieces of the entire puzzle.
You're building heavy
And
water. You're how do we mine uranium? How do we find the
right,
electric? 100,000 people were built in just creating the electrical capacitors. They didn't fucking
yeah.
know. It's for the war.
And then Hiroshima happens, and they're like, holy shit, did we do that?
Yeah.
So you have like the whistleblowers with 9/11. Interestingly, you mentioned you talked to someone about anthrax last week, didn't you? I just thought of that.
I
The
talked to
anthrax
Dr.
attacks.
Stephen Hatfill, and I think they tried to pin it on Dr. Hatfill, who's like a bioweapons expert. And obviously, it wasn't him. And I think he sued the fuck out of the government. I'm not sure. He's a brilliant guy. Wrote a book called 3 Seconds Till Midnight. And then Dr. Meryl Nass, I've had her on. She's also an anthrax expert.
So that's the perfect example of how it's dangerous for the establishment too to do it that
Sure.
way, as long as they can, well, unless they're willing to cover it up with lethal force. And because I did a podcast about the anthrax mail-ins, I think 3 or 4 years ago, happened right after 9/11, helped push through and reinforce support for the Patriot Act and all that. But I think this was well, I know it was like a military grade weapon, a
Oh,
biological
yeah,
weapon.
no, the level at which it was milled down, when you get to that small of a level, there's sort of a counterproductive force, because once you get to that small, it starts to succumb to electrostatic forces, which means it kind of, when you see that really fine dust and it just kind of sticks to your TV or something, as opposed to
Mm,
like a chunk from the dryer where you can blow it around. When it gets really tiny, it almost seals to things, which doesn't. So now it's super infective, but it doesn't aerosolize correctly. So they got down to a super small, fine milled, I guess, particle size, and managed to overcome the electrostatic clumping. And how they did that is still classified or unknown, but no
right.
one could do that other than a nation state.
Exactly. So just to like bring it back to what I was saying about like I don't know this is how it happened, but let's just say that a lot of people were involved in the creation of the weapon and they didn't know it was going to be used as a weapon on
Sure,
domestic citizens.
sure.
You have a lot of microbiologists immediately after those attacks getting bumped, like at an alarming rate.
Uh-huh.
I know there was one. I
Stacking
don't did.
bodies.
Did you talk to the guy about? Did he bring that up when you talked to
Not
him?
not we kind of went more into his book. I can send you the episode. The episodes run together. We talked more about, he was involved in Trump's White House, and he started to see the whole like COVID research and like response to like ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine, and like saw the demons at work. I don't think we got too into the anthrax thing, to be honest, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't,
Okay.
if we didn't, I can only imagine, and I know this is kind of a bullshit excuse being like, oh, the episodes run together. But if I didn't get into it, it was probably because I maybe tried to and he didn't want to. And it's more of a respect. I've interviewed Charlie Duke, who walked on the moon 4 times, and it was only until the fourth time that I asked him about aliens. So there's like, I respect someone so much for giving me their time. We might have, though. I've interviewed him a couple times. We might have talked about it. I'm not entirely sure. Sorry.
Yeah, I'd
Keep
like
going.
to hear his perspective on that because, yeah, I remember looking at the suspicious deaths after that, and at those big events, you have them without fail every time. 9/11
Oh, yeah.
has a very extensive
Dropping
suspicious
engineers
death
just,
list, right?
yeah.
the JFK might actually have the longest one. The Clinton body.
Yeah, you cut out. You can't hear you. You're muted. As soon as he mentions Clinton, he goes mute. Uh, we'll figure this out. Without fail, we mention the Clintons, and the microphone fails.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's quiet. Go into I don't know. See if you can go turn up like
Can you hear me?
better.
Does that
Say so.
work?
Yep, yeah, we're good. As soon as you mention the Clintons,
Oh, I mean,
the
stay out of
Clinton
small
body, it
airplanes.
just ices.
Yeah, that's why I'll never fly in a small airplane. I mean, I know I'm so insignificant, but that's how they get you. There was one recently in South America too. I can't recall
Oh, I mean, stacking
another one.
bodies. Who was it? Epstein's plastic surgeon died because they put the wrong fuel in the jet, which is like, I don't know,
Come
fuck about
on.
aviation, but I can only imagine that's on the first page of your first day of flight school.
There's got to be redundant systems there to prevent that from happening. Holy shit. I've
Yeah.
never put diesel in my car, you know.
Yeah, I've
I
never
heard that
fucked any.
story.
Yeah, I've never.
Yeah.
I've used the wrong charger for an iPhone before.
Right.
I've gone. Oh fuck. But I mean, yeah. Sorry, but going. Yeah, Clinton stacking bodies, JFK.
Well, I mean, I guess just overall the point is that you're gonna like get people that are involved in the creation of these sort of elements of the psychological operations or geopolitical maneuvers that aren't wicked by themselves, but they figure things out. And it's not like they have a crisis of conscience. They were never in on it in the first place. And
Sure.
so they start talking and they have to get taken care of. It happens every single time, every
Yeah,
time.
and it's not only that, but then it's also. I mean, let's look at Klaus Fuchs and then the two Rosenbergs. It's Ethel and whoever her husband was. They were both. So those three people. Klaus Fuchs, who was actually from Great Britain, and he got into the Manhattan Project, and was, I guess, passing data to the Soviets. And then the two Rosenbergs, who were admitted communists, we just put them to death for treason. So it's like it might not even be like the cabal getting you. It might just be you're talking about information you weren't supposed to be talking about, like per your contract. And like when you look at like the stacking of bodies, I also like I can't with like a straight face say that like you're a pussy, right? Not you. But if someone comes to me and it's like, hey, if they actually, it's no longer like a meme. You actually get approached, and it's
Mm.
just like you're gonna stop covering this now. I mean, I lost a brother to suicide. I've seen what the death of a sibling does to living siblings. I've seen what it does to parents losing a child. Based on that alone, I couldn't sit here and be like, well, I'm gonna keep going forward with the truth. Just for like the love of my own family, I would be like, you know what? Yeah, if someone comes to me with a gun and says, stop talking to Reese, I'm probably going to stop talking to him. As much as I'd like to think I'm some freedom fighter. Hey, man, when eventually it's real and they come to you in the blacked out SUVs and you've got kids, you might not,
Mm.
you might even make peace with the you're going to lose your job. You're no longer going to be a doctor. You're going to be fired. You might make peace with that. You might go,
Right.
I'm doing the right thing. When push comes to shove, everyone talks a big game. And it's not until you're at the bar and you see the smoking hot girl and your friend's like, go talk to her. Yeah, you're all talk. Go talk to her. You're like, I don't want to. I don't. She's not my type. Oh, fuck off. Yes, she is. You're just a pussy.
Mm.
Who
Well,
knows,
these
man?
people will keep moving the goalposts back.
Well,
Like I
sure.
know my limits. I mean, if it's they got me dead to rights, they framed me really well with some wicked crime. So I don't know about the family stuff. I'd have to consider it. I've never been in a position that way.
Yeah.
That
Not,
seems,
not,
but I have been in jail before for 5 days, but that was enough. If I'm looking at 10 years and there's no way out of it because they did a really, really good
a
job
good
of the
frame.
frame, then it's just the alternative is, well, just tell us a little bit of information about this guy and we'll let you go. I'm ratting in a heartbeat.
Well, and
Goodbye.
that's the
I
other
don't
thing
care.
is I've now seen directly through this podcast like sacrifices made on this being banned from YouTube. And it is a sacrifice because this is my job and it is my revenue. I don't mind about that. But yeah, when I look at the amount of hatred and vitriol I've received from just trying to understand what's going on, and not just me running off, but having on, the inventor of the mRNA vaccine, and people still frothing at the mouth saying I'm killing grandma. If someone came to me and was like,
Mm,
stop talking about this or you go to jail, I'd be like, I'm not going to jail for these fucking retards. That they hate me for trying to help. Yeah, I'll shut the fuck up. What do I care? I
right.
got 1,000 other guests
Yeah.
on backlog. I'll talk to them. That's the other thing is like
Well,
the
and what I meant about moving the goalpost, by the way, is that the tough talkers, like I get it, but it is delusional. I mean, it reminds me of all the white kids I grew up with that would say, if I lived in the South when I was a kid, I'd be an abolitionist. No, you wouldn't.
the
No, you
same
wouldn't,
people
because
that are screaming not or get a mask, put on your vaccine. Hey,
yeah,
you rewind the clock 77 years. You know who they are? They are your papers, Juden. Schnell. Achtung.
they think that they would be um a conductor on the Underground Railroad
They
with
think, yeah, they
Harriet
think they'd
Tubman.
be that like who was that like special forces guy? I think from like Sweden or something. He went and got caught and thrown into a concentration camp just so he could like map out the physical terrain and then escaped. They're like, that's who I'd be. No, you wouldn't. No, you
Right.
wouldn't.
No,
Like
and they can't even say what they want. Forget about doing things that were illegal for that region at that era. You can't even say what you want now on Facebook
you
for
can't, yeah, yeah.
fear of being
You don't have the
ostracized.
balls. You don't have the balls to say, hey, my mom got the vaccine and had a seizure and 18 seconds later. You can't
Right.
say that in between posts from your drunk aunt saying I'm selling my old couch. But, but, but you'd be smuggling Jews out of Nazi occupied Hungary. Tell me more. You and Harriet Tubman would have a torch sneaking through Confederate lands of guys wearing KKK suits. T- Tell me more. You'd be hunting
Uh,
Hitler himself, wouldn't you? No.
well, it's worse than that. They can't even say, you know, I don't know about this BLM stuff too much. They
You
can't
can't
even
even
say
you can't
that.
even go. Isn't that weird how there's just a bunch of riots across the United States and seem to be sanctioned? I mean, they actually set up their own forward operating base in Seattle called Chaz. Like, I don't know, that kind of seems
Yeah, yeah.
coordinated and they're rioting at the White House. Huh.
Financed by George Soros?
You,
Nah,
you can't say
nah.
that. Isn't it kind of weird how whenever Trump puts out a new bill and all these people start writing, they all have, and I used to do graphic design, they all have matching posters with the exact same print and glossy finish. Where they get, are they that, are they that well oiled of a machine? Well, I don't know if I want to. All right.
2 weeks to flatten the curve. Science evolves, people. Get over it. We're doing our best here. I trust Fauci.
Yeah.
Scumbags,
Hey,
scumbags, spineless.
this in our lifetimes, let's not even pull up JFK. In our lifetimes, we all watched lying to get into Iraq from a vice president who was the former CEO of Halliburton, and I think Halliburton owns KBR, Kellogg, Brown and Root, the reconstruction company, getting in there. And while we are still withdrawing from that war, and people are arguing about how Biden did it, and ultimately they're going, you know what, no matter how he does it, we just need to get out of there. It was a false war. At that same time, they are making that argument through a mask. And it's like,
Yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
don't, the people,
Brave. They're
the,
brave.
the people during Occupy Wall Street are the same people saying, shut the fuck up, stop criticizing Moderna. And then that gets me
Yes.
back to just, I'll never stop trying to find the truth. But you know what? Would I fucking actually sacrifice a minute in jail for these? No, fuck them because they hate me. They hate,
Right.
and at a certain point, you almost just got to slow clap the deep state and be like, you have brainwashed them
Mhm.
to hating the person trying to. You know what?
Well, you
Y'all
just
ran the
made
table.
you just made a great point about the flippant ideology that can be coerced back and forth very easily. I mean,
The
the
roots.
example that I point out, it's so obvious and hilarious, to be honest. When Kaepernick was kneeling, yeah, he's kneeling on the football field for Black Lives Matter and injustices and stuff. A couple years later, now if you don't kneel, you're a scumbag.
Mm.
Everybody was a scumbag for kneeling. Now, and then they had the NBA players kneeling. recreating the murder of George Floyd. It's so stupid. I mean, this is how you celebrate people, but it really it comes down to just all of it probably comes down to the exploitation of our natural instincts because herd mentality
Tribalism, yeah.
is evolutional. You know, there's a
Yeah.
reason we have herd mentalities because if everybody's running this way, when we were less sentient creatures, that was a good idea to run with them.
Yeah.
Now you got people that have spent billions of dollars, like MK Ultra style studies, that they know, okay, well, we can fabricate that. We can do that
Fabricate a
sort
herd.
of in a faux pas sort of way and get people to move direction per direction. Very clever, very clever, but like really unfair. It's like unfair, you know?
Again, no. Demons from hell. Like I always keep going,
Yeah.
demons from hell. But you gotta respect again, Kissinger, brilliant guy. He should truly should burn alive, but intelligent guy. I mean, yeah, 100,000 years ago, if everyone's running in run direction, and one tribe has me and Reese going, hold on, why are we running? Is somebody benefiting from us running? Rightfully so. Someone would stab us in the throat and say you're destroying group cohesion, and rightfully so. All right, but we're not there anymore. Just like it's 2022, and you don't need every calorie available, but McDonald's tastes good. It's working on the old firmware of get every calorie you can because I don't know when we're eating again. And it's been that way for
Mhm.
the vast 99.999% of the time that we've had this meat avatar. In that same sense, it's why porn is you're not sex is supposed to be hard to get, right?
Yeah.
It is a carrot that does make you I can't get laid. Well, maybe you should clean up your cave, shave your caveman beard, and I don't know, go get some firewood and kill a tiger. That's probably a good thing. When you can just open up your phone in between saying we're the resistance, George Floyd, and Trump's orange, and then just jerk off to whatever depraved shit you're looking at, that is a hijacking of the entrenched system. So it's like, it's not even that we're fighting just against like a deep state and demons from hell. You're also fighting against the innate survival instincts of man. And it's, yeah,
Yeah.
if you all didn't go for the same thing, you were dead. And now the idea that they'd lie to you and go against, you're going, guys, I'm not sure if this is good. Someone might be trying to make money. Group cohesion says that guy's a conspiracy theorist. Fuck him. And then an even another level is you don't even have to get good at it. You can just simulate it. You can just simulate 100. You can just press a button and this post that is bullshit. Vaccines are safe and effective. You can just say retweet it a million times. It's not real. It just says 1M on your screen. You think it's 10 football stadiums of people. It might be 7 people. But if there's a
Right.
psyop behind it, and then someone might tweet hey, this vaccine killed my mom, and it might have 100,000 retweets, and all you got to do is change it to 4 or just shadow ban it outright. You are now simulating the very things our biology listens to. And you're right. It's fucking
Well, that's why
unfair.
I kind of get on board. Like, if you go to my website, my slogan on there is the only way to solve problems is completely. So I've considered all the things that you talk about, and that's why I still arrive at a restructuring of the economic model because there is no getting around what you just bullseyed. You know, I mean, you encapsulated everything that's true, and it's an endless contradiction. And if you want to admonish this, then you probably also have to admonish that. And you go through these levels of understanding and why the machine works the way it works. I think the only possible realistic and not realistically executed, but realistic model that could stave away a lot of these issues is some type of resource-based economy or like a Venus project or
Mm-hmm.
adjacent to that. Because as long as the motivation is there, and the motivation comes from scarcity,
Mm-hmm.
resource-based,
Scarcity.
resource control, energy control. Well, resources are energy. And you have to compete for that. And since we're so high functioning at this point in time, the 21st century, it's no longer hey, give me that food because I'm bigger and stronger. Now it's like we have weapons of mass destruction. Some people don't believe in the atomic bomb, but I do think we have capabilities to, create a nuclear winter. I do think we have atomic bombs now, by the way. There's some questions about the Oppenheimer footage. I agree. Those little trees looks a bit Hollywooded up. But if you want to get away from that sort of concept of we're getting fucked over and it's the 1% and the 99%, and they obviously conceal a lot of their technological advancements from us, then you have to get away from the underlying motivator, which is money. And money is an intermediary for resources. So if we can create weapons of mass creation, um, of course, you open a door, you solve a problem, and then you're bringing new problems. That's true. And so that'll create a lot of hesitation. I see that in people. People are obviously, that's another evolutional thing. They're very resistant to change. But that's why I advocate for a system like that. Let's overhaul it because this just ends badly. I mean, I'm not in love with the place that we're in now. Like comparatively speaking, sure, America is for now it's in decline, but for now it's better than fucking China.
Sure.
Okay, yeah, but uh, it you just follow the trend, and it's not looking good. I mean, we're at least arriving at South Africa in 50 years, if not Haiti. It's just not good. And so, enough of the band-aids is my thing. Enough of the band-aid solutions. Let's create something that's like quite innovative because we've innovated quite a bit with our ways to kill each other. And so it's now a real liability. I mean, are we just going to be in even if we go back to straight up nationalism and there's no international cabal, that's a horrible idea
So that
because
the last
we're,
time we
we're
had all out nationalism was World War II, right?
and we're going to stave off, yeah, and that's pre-atomic bomb. We're going to stave off conflicts because nuclear mutual blackmail? I don't think so, dude. And that doesn't even mention the bioweapons.
Yeah.
We just went through a bioweapon attack. Now, it was done by the international syndicate that exists, but can you imagine if it was done from a nationalistic perspective? Say they build a bomb, say they build a bomb, an ethnic based biological bomb, which
You could a
Israel
hundred.
was working on in the
You could
90s.
100% do. Hitler was looking in. Hitler and Kurt Bloma, and whoever the fuck was the other one? I can't remember. They were looking to this in the 40s.
But
Gone.
let's just say there's a territorial dispute and it's ongoing and neither side wants to budge between, something in the Pacific Islands.
Uh huh.
And China says, you know what, fuck you. And they unleash a weapon that kills all Caucasian people. Well, that's the future you're looking at with modern nationalism. I don't want that shit either,
Yeah.
you
No,
know?
it's not a. It's not. I mean, if anything, I mean, we're talking about choosing between playing Russian roulette with a 12 gauge and Russian roulette with a revolver. Like neither are good. I'd almost rather the nationalism because at least you could maybe get a almost capitalism based competing interest to get better. But even that, as we just said, is still fucked.
But all it takes is a little bit of yellow cake getting in the wrong hands.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying it's Russian roulette with two guns. Like
Right,
I'm
right.
not thrilled at the situation. I'm not. It's you and me, Reese, and we're sitting there where there's a 12 gauge and a revolver. I'm going. The revolver might go on in such an angle that you might live as a vegetable for the rest of your life. That one's removing your head. And you're going, Tommy, I don't like these choices. And I'm going, neither do I. But
Well, what was the alternative to nationalism? Our modern system?
I was going to say the international syndicate in which there's a
Yeah.
top down fuck everyone, at least within national, there's like, we're going to fuck everyone else, but maybe take care of our,
Yeah, see,
I got to pee.
this is between.
I got to
Oh, go
piss really
ahead.
badly. Hey, Reese, just take it over. It's your show now. Tell everybody where.
Well, I'm gonna use this opportunity to say that I'm gonna grab a beer. And thanks for watching. It is 72 degrees where I am. It's about 5:20, and everything else irrelevant. We will be back. Um, I do, if the person is watching, I got an email through my website from one of Tommy's supporters, and I agree with what you said. Interesting stuff. This probably won't make the cut. Dead air. Dead air. Not good
Dead air.
radio.
Dead air, dead air, dead air. Every single episode I've done is dead air. People always like, we edit that out. I'm like, yeah, sure. I don't give a shit. Anybody that's watching this
All
doesn't like
right.
it, hey, fast forward it. You're watching it in the future.
There you
Um,
go.
yeah, I don't give a fuck. Um, so then
What do you think about streamers? What do you think about
live
streaming culture?
live streaming, I don't know. I kind of just hate like I hate everyone. I don't hate anybody. That's not true. I mean, but like I don't know. There's just such like a I was watching like last night. I was just every once in a while I like to go down like a UFO rabbit hole, and I love that. And last night I was just like trying to find I'd watched it back in like 2015 Unacknowledged Stephen Greer's film, and I know people have their own thoughts on Stephen Greer. I don't fucking know the guy. I don't have any definitive take on him. I don't
Yeah,
it,
actually, I didn't comment on your NASA shirt. Is it moon landing? Yay or nay?
this is the reason why I think we did. The conspiracy should always be sexier than the alternative. And when I say sexy, I'll mention like it was COVID a depopulation. You know, that's a sexy idea. People are like, that's not sexy. What are you evil? I mean, sexy, and it's like a James Bond story. You fucking
I know
Neanderthal.
what you
Of
mean.
course, yeah, no, but there are some people like I can't. I've talked about that before, where I'm like, yeah, maybe Ukraine, maybe they're just using that as nuclear blackmail to bring the world to a new Cold War. I'm like, that's kind of a sexy idea. They're like, you want us to, and I'm like, you can't fucking go, yeah, fucking go watch Tower 7 and tell me how it fell, you dipshit mouth breather. But like, so
Well,
this is
I think the filmed in Kubrick style. Uh, uh, yeah, I mean,
look,
I don't marry myself to exactly it's Kubrick. A lot of people say that. I know that Neil Armstrong didn't go to the moon, or that's what I truly believe. But I think the idea that it was filmed in a set, especially in the 60s, with wires or maybe even underwater, they filmed it on a moon-like, setting. I think that's kind of sexy.
it's
Don't you?
absolutely oh no, no, sure. No,
Yeah.
absolutely. And hey, and I'm not married to the idea either. Everything we're talking about is how corrupt and brilliant and psychologically deceptive these people are. So I'm not all of a sudden going to go, but the moon landing was, this is my idea. Is like all of that is less sexy than the even a Kubrick, even if they have Kubrick filming and it's in an underwater thing in the Langley and the CIA, and we're gonna use it to bankrupt the Soviets. Hey, I'm all on board. Why wouldn't we? Cold War, anything goes, baby. That's
Hmm.
still not as sexy as just grabbing a couple guys and being like God and country and throwing them at the moon. Like
Hmm.
going to the moon is a far sexier cover up. And that's just my own like Occam's razor. Like it should always be wilder, right? The cover up, is that right? The cover up should always be no, the truth should always be wilder than the cover up, right? So what's the cover up? 19 guys with box cutters. Okay. They took down the great Satan. Okay. The cover up that it was actually nanothermite or directed energy or whatever. That's wilder. To me, there is nothing wilder than walking on the moon. I'm not against the idea of it being a psyop.
You've got an interesting mental blueprint. I've never heard that one before.
No,
As
but
that's how you approach it. I've never
that's
heard that one.
and I'm
Yeah.
not saying that it's a truism. I don't know. It's not Occam's razor. I don't know it for a fact. That's what it is, right? Lee Harvey shot JFK. Okay, that's crazy. Former Marine pops JFK a year after the Cuban Missile Crisis, height of the Cold. All right. It's far wilder to think the CIA and maybe the mafia did it and to bring in Johnson so the military industrial complex bulldozes Vietnam. That's
Hmm.
that's sexier. So, but I get the alternative ideas about them. I don't want to say alternative because I don't know the truth.
Well, you're thinking in the right terms in the sense that at least I know now that you have pattern recognition and you're dependent on it or you utilize it quite a bit because so do I.
Yeah.
I never looked at it that way. I find them to be um well, which one is more
So
I look at which one is less plausible. And
yeah,
so us going to the moon through the Van
sir,
Allen belt, for example,
in the
is
60s is certainly oh, I'm with you
uh,
100%. And
also, I
I
do want to say though, there has to be some form of it that is just absolutely ostensibly fabricated because
oh,
they're doing it on live
100%.
television. How are
100%.
they getting that radio signal back so clean?
A
You
hundred
know?
percent. Oh no, absolutely. I'm sure it is surrounded by horse shit. I mean,
Mm,
even the most mundane presidential addresses are
right.
still touched up with CGI. That doesn't mean that Biden isn't real and that he was executed in Guantanamo and QAnon rules the world. It just might mean it's surprised the state is making themselves look good. I will
Mm,
say I think the most plausible theory for the moon landing being faked is a very plausible one, and it's to bankrupt the Soviets. It was a war of attrition of no one had the balls, or you could say the stupidity, to fire nukes because it was all over. So the only thing you could do was create an incredibly disruptive. You had to unbalance the playing field, right? That's why Gorbachev hated the idea of Reagan's SDI. We're going to shoot down your weapons from space. Well, if we can shoot down everything, then that means they can't hurt us, which means we can go attack you. That makes the Soviet Union a little more rabid because they're going, now we don't have guns to each other's head. Now, instead of me and Reese having guns against each other's head, it's me and Nick both pointing guns at your head. And you're going, now I'm feeling a little destabilized and I'm going to move preemptively.
right.
So I
But I don't
get
I
that
don't
idea.
and I get what we're just sort of tossing the idea around. The problem I have with that theory though is the Soviets didn't believe the moon landing either. You know, it's just like all the intelligence agents abroad. They know that 9/11 was an inside job. They know that it was Israel. With the moon landing, I did read several papers written by the Soviets that said, here is why that's bullshit.
The Soviets also crash landed their own rover about 3 days before Armstrong allegedly went to the moon. So it's
Mm.
also not, they were also ahead of us. They got Sputnik up, they got Yuri
Hmm.
Gagarin up, they got Laika the dog up. They were doing this stuff far before us, and they had rovers that I think they all crashed onto the moon. But they were getting there closer. It was a major Soviet coup to say we have a better system. Now again, that only serves up more probably why we would fake it to counter coup their coup.
See, you're bringing up things I'm gonna have to look into that because I knew about Sputnik. They were the first in space.
Oh, dude,
Uh,
they had rovers up there. The Soviets were doing it. I think
see,
they all fucked up. I think none of them landed correctly.
I'd have to look at that because I feel like so are the Soviets, as far as you know, did they magically lose their algorithms for reaching the moon like NASA did?
I don't know about that. Yeah, that's some horse shit, right? And they lost the telemetry.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's for another thing. It's like, well, there's the splinter that you can't remove. They accidentally recorded over the telemetry. The NSA has recorded every fucking conversation for the last 50 years, but NASA, in their infinite budget cuts, despite the fact they had like what 5% of the GDP to get us to the moon, had to reuse what should be the most valuable magnetic tape of all time. It should be in the Smithsonian along with the Wright Flyer and like the Lincoln's hat, but
Mm.
they were really cutting corners and went, I know this is the telemetry that got us to the moon, one of the biggest events in human history,
So
but we really got
I
to
know
double
that
over it.
you're I think your audience is probably very intelligent, so maybe some of them will rip me to shreds if I'm incorrect about this. But I believe I look at it similar to the way the Holocaust story kept changing because they didn't know that the fumes from diesel engines wouldn't kill people, so they had to change it to Zyklon B. Uh, Back in the 60s, I don't think that astronomers were aware how difficult getting through the Van Allen belt really was if they knew about it at all. So when I hear that stuff about the Soviets landing rovers, I haven't if I've heard that before, it's just been a long time. Um, I think there may be some type of collusion with that, unless somebody can appropriately explain to me how they got through the Van Allen belt, because I don't think it's impossible that humans have ever been to the moon. I think maybe we have, but I think they use vastly different technology than that rinkety dinkety ship that Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin took.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in my opinion, I don't even think it's close. I don't think the cooling systems would work in a lower gravity field. I think the whole thing was scripted. I think even his name, Armstrong, was a type of psychological operation. I do remember the infamous, if you look up Neil Armstrong elbow on YouTube, one of their partners in crime starts saying something and they all start elbowing him like he's not supposed to be saying. He's like, I couldn't see the stars on the moon, and they're like, bump, bump, bump.
Oh
It
shit.
seems to be a little bit ridiculous, but and then of course you wrapped it up nicely. Oh, we got rid of it through budget cuts, all the evidence and how we got there. We're gonna have to rebuild it from scratch.
I
Sorry,
just can't
folks.
remember where I put
That
it.
would be like the golden holy grail that they would hang on to and guard in a, forget about gun safe, like Fort Knox type bunker
Oh
at NASA.
yeah.
You know, not buying it, folks. That's just me. Um, I posted the other day on Telegram, um old video. Somebody had overlaid it with, come on, this is fake, and it's one of the moon mission, the moon landings, where it looks like they're faking Among Us tasks, like they're like hammering something down and then they're jumping over here back, but like to me clearly they're on wires, like
Yeah.
it looks bad. um
Again, so I'm not married to any of the ideas. So really long. Why do I have the shirt? Because
right,
it's a baggy shirt and I like it.
I
That's the real
got you.
that's the real
Yeah,
bottom of the conspiracy. It's a big puffy shirt. Um, I think they're both probably equally probable. I think it's an intelligence coup, not an intelligence coup. It's a propaganda coup. You want to show that we can do it, right? I mean, Sputnik was definitely important because it's the idea that you can launch something of any considerable mass into orbit, which, not long. Operation Paperclip's still going strong, and the atomic bomb's 20 years old at that point. There's the importance there, right? You don't need you don't need intercontinental bombers. You cannot put them on missiles. I get that. I get the idea of saying we did it because
yeah.
the Cold War, I mean, you're forgetting just how, I mean, they were for a long time, they were at parity with us. You did have to actually, you did actually have to show that we are better, right? We were going tit for tat on this stuff. So did we fake it to bankrupt them? I don't think that's absurd at all. I don't think it's absurd at all. The only thing that gets me is like the Soviets were crashing their own rovers. And to me, I'm like,
Well, maybe you could expound on that. I'm kind
I
of,
don't I don't know enough about it. Let me
no,
pull
I
it.
mean, like there's a for me, I don't see a direct correlation. I see a prestige correlation. I don't see a direct
The
correlation
ability
between.
the ability to get some form of functioning electronic to the surface of the moon. That's
No,
where
I
I
mean, like, how does that correlate to bankrupting them directly?
to get a living creature up there is always going to be more difficult than getting a robot up there, right? Because you have to have life support systems. They got to be
Right.
able to survive, take off, reentry, everything. So let's say they're sending up rovers. Let's just for mental exercise, let's say they did do it. Let's say the Soviets did do it, and we know we could do it. On one level, you got to go, well, we got to one up them, but on another level, you got to go, how could we make this so much more difficult? Get a living, breathing human up there and bring him back. It's not above the Soviets to just leave him up there and be like, we did it. They died for the country.
So you think that
That
phenomenon would hurt the ruble, like the value of it so much?
I
It would.
think if you got them to pursue it endlessly,
Oh,
like a
uh,
bomber gap or a missile gap, which we now know we manufactured so that the military industrial complex could strong arm Kennedy and say we got to start building missiles. And but I mean the Soviets, what led to the bomber gap was actually is pretty brilliant. They took their bomber, I don't remember what it was, and it was during a parade for I think Khrushchev, and they just kept releasing footage of them flying over. And like we now know that they were just using like the same 10 bombers. They would just do these big circles around Moscow, but we thought they had
mm,
hundreds of these things. And it did lead to us spending a ton of fucking money on bombers, which robbed us of using resources in other places. I guess it kind of backfired because then we just swelled into an even bigger military industrial complex. But there is grounds for that to say we did this,
yeah.
and you do want to hurt them. So let's say Russia gets robots up there. We get people up there. If they, and there's a flaw in this because you might have the Soviets going, well, it's not even worth our money anymore because they've already done it. So now what we're just doing parody. You never want to do the same as them. You always want to one up the other guy. That's the Cold War mentality. You always want to go bigger. But let's say they did buy into it to get a biological life system up there, survive, and come back. And you're also trying to meet us sub for sub, ship for ship, bomb for bomb, bomber for bomber, tank for tank, whatever. And also do the proxy wars all throughout Vietnam and the Middle East and the Shah and all that shit. That might be enough to tip the scales when you're already using everything, when you're already using every resource to try to keep up with us. All of a sudden, it's one more thing. It might be enough. I think it's a weak argument that it would effectively work. Not that it's a viable conspiracy, but the idea that we would do it to bankrupt them, I don't know. But if you could effectively fake it, and what would the cost of that be? I mean, a Hollywood shoot, and you're doing it
Right.
with the endless resources of the government. You can just literally print anything. I mean, that's an enticing thing. If you think the Soviets
Yeah.
would do it, and then if they don't do it, it's not all for naught. You take that win. You take that propaganda win.
Well, that's definitely something that we were vastly superior at. Maybe not militarily or space travel, but we've always had Hollywood. So we
Oh
could
yeah.
always produce a shit show better than anybody else.
Oh yeah.
No
And that
doubt.
and that is a weapon in this era we are in humanity. That is a weapon as valuable as bronze 5,000 years ago. You
Yes,
could
I think it's probably our well, in the current super digitized age, it might be the most valuable weapon today. Yeah.
control of social media perception in a way that's not too obvious, where every tweet gets 100 trillion retweets and Elon Musk gets zero, but in enough of a way to just tip the scales and to really add some meat to the bones, some effective deep fakes. That's you can't tell me that's not as valuable as a stealth bomber. It
Dude, you don't
absolutely
even have
is.
to work that hard anymore to frame somebody.
No,
If somebody's location is unaccounted for, like they spent the night at home by themselves and they deep fake a person, let's say banging a kid, you don't even need Epstein anymore. You
no.
know,
Oh
as
no,
long as you
that's
have the FBI at your behest, you
that
can get
might have
them.
been it, man. We might have been like, what are we doing with this whole Epstein? These people could talk. He might get a change of heart.
Don't need them anymore.
It might not
Uh,
even have been that like it fell apart and now we got to get rid of him. They just went, bro, we are streamlining this. Like, fuck,
yeah.
fuck Blockbuster. We got Netflix, man. You can just press a button instantly in your home. No return date. So now Epstein's just a threat or he's a fucking liability. Get rid
No,
of him.
I
Call a
mean,
bulldog.
like, right, exactly. We don't need to blackmail these politicians anymore. If they ever get out of line, we'll just show them a video that looks exactly like them
Just banging
performing
a
a
kid.
heinous act on a kid. And, hey, I know it's not you, but everybody's going to believe it's you. So
Uh-huh.
what do you
Yeah, uh-huh.
say?
Yeah. And then just
Yeah.
say, and then we'll have everything deplatform you so you can't make a public statement otherwise. We'll
Well, we'll arrest you. We'll
oh,
put you in jail forever.
least of which will conveniently dox you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not only
Mm,
that, you do it of a kid that actually did go missing. So now you're gonna have some vigilante dad, right?
right.
Man, it's
This is something I want to bring up too on that subject. A lot of these victims, like at Sandy Hook and all of the subsequent ones that are equally fake, not every single one, but all the ones that are in the news for a prolonged period of time. Maybe your local school shooting is real, got some lip service on the media, but no, the big ones, Orlando. A lot of these victims are just not even real people. They're made up, and you can create your own fake person. So I'm doing a plug for somebody's website where they're demonstrating this technology. If you go to thispersondoesnotexist.com, it will immediately give you a fake person.
I was hoping it was gonna be .gov.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
Yes.
Yeah, no, well, I'm sure. But it's
Yeah, yeah.
incorporating a technology called StyleGAN. which is like a generative adversarial network. It's taking a composite image of thousands of people and
Mm-hmm.
combining it into one at unique ratios. And every time you hit refresh on this page, which is using this technology, you get a brand new person. And so a lot of these photos that pop up in the memorials, maybe they give them a phony, Facebook page to go along with the name that they give them, but they're just made up from scratch. That's
Sure.
how far we've come. Like seriously, faking mass murder. We're in like, it's beyond 1984. I think we can all safely say that now. We're venturing into the brave new world. Aldous Huxley, MK Ultra asset. It's not a joke. It's not a joke, and it's revelation of the method in his case, because I remember being forced to read that fucking book in school. Did you?
Aldous, 1984. Yeah, and
No.
Brave New World. Yeah, Aldous
Yes.
Huxley. And I think that is kind of like a. I used to look at them as like a dichotomy. It's one or the other. Now I look at it as an evolution. It's no Brave New World comes after 1984. 1984 is
Yes.
the strong arm. It's the secret police kicking down your door. It's the gun in the back of your head. Brave New World is 2.0, baby.
Right.
You don't even want to question it. You're like, why would I? Take some soma, get in an orgy.
Why do we have to fight them so hard when we can convince them it's what they want? That's optimal.
I think that's where we are, man. I think we're looking at the
Mhm.
Soviet Union and we're like, you idiots. You rounded them up and put them in gulags with hard labor? You
Right.
fucking moron. Give them 99-cent McDonald's, Blink 182 American Pie, and American Ninja Warrior. They will turn in their guns so they can buy a Nintendo 64. I'm dating myself,
Mhm.
but like it's the ultimate, it's the apex predator. You have completely judoed it to go with evolutionary urges, to not steal everything from them so they have nothing to lose, and they have these guys with vendettas and they're like, I'm gonna fucking bring this system down no matter what. A lot of the people that fled the Soviet Union fled because their girlfriend's uncle's brother was killed in a prison, and they were like, I'm Oleg, whatever the fuck his name was, the subject of the book $1 Billion Spy by David Hoffman, this guy that risked his life and ultimately was caught and killed, just photographing Soviet blueprints for fighter jets and giving them to us, really getting nothing in return. And we're like, hey, dude, we can like we'll exfil you from the Soviet Union. Like you're more American than anybody because what you're doing is dangerous. And I think his exact quote was, "Everything I do is dangerous, and I don't care." Because he hated the fucking to the end. He was like, "I don't care. I want them dead." I've interviewed Ken Albeck, the head of the Soviet Union bioweapons program, defected to the United States. He didn't care that he could have been killed. He was like, these people are so evil. By having this overarching evil, when you eventually you take everything from someone, they have nothing left and thus nothing to lose. You are creating a vicious militant fighting force. When we wonder why 20 years later these kids are taking up arms and blowing up American convoys, because you vaporized their dad at a wedding with a drone. They have nothing else. They don't have a school they can go to and just say, yeah, fuck it. They have nothing else. They're in the middle of bumblefuck. The way to do it is to not have vendettas. Don't have anything. It's just not as good. The movies kind of suck, but it's Marvel. You can get weed delivered. That's cool. Uber Eats. Hey, look, Pete Davidson's on SNL again. Ha! Orange Man is bad, isn't he? What do you care? You're just Novocaine. You're just kind of numb.
Mm,
It's the ultimate. Don't chase down a fish and eat it. Be the anglerfish. Have the soft light. What is that? That is a cute light. Then it's over.
yeah, and milk them in the process. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, that's the yeah. Milk 'em
what
dry.
we're approaching for sure is some type of, I would say, technocracy, but not for us, just for them.
Hmm.
I think the natural conclusion of all of this is a technocratic international society, um, probably run out of Tel Aviv or Jerusalem. Maybe the Asians get to have their own thing.
You cut out as soon as he mentions the Clintons or as soon as you mention Tel Aviv, he gets sniped. The audio gets sniped. You're back.
I am. Can you hear me?
Turn it up a little bit.
Should be it, right?
We're just like playing a game of remember that game Operation where you hit the sides and it buzzes? Did you ever play that game when you were little?
Yeah, yeah.
We're just like finding out where the actual power is. You mentioned Clinton's, your audio cuts out. You mentioned
I
Tel Aviv,
think
your
it's
audio cuts out. We're just
yeah.
sketching out this. We're like tracing something. We're finding the edges.
I would love to revel in that. I think it's just my fucking laptop is not geared
Well,
for
uh,
streams.
yeah, well, it's yeah, same thing as my NASA shirt. There's no deeper meaning. It's fluffy and warm. But go on with the technocracy.
Um, so I don't think that we'll be included in. Well, I know that we're not going to be included in it, but I
Stop.
think that I think like some people have their various ideas, but that's the way I see it, and I never bought into the idea that people were going to get vaccinated and drop dead right away. Some people did, of course. Some people did. There's some other clever game going on with that. It may be an intergenerational fertility thing, according to Stumphauser and his stuff. A lot of people are clotting up. That makes sense. Something's going on there, but I think it's like these people can't have kids, but more likely they're going to have kids that can't have kids
or
because
or varying shades of fertility where I had kids just
sure.
fine and but Bob doesn't have any or via vice versa your kids.
I need to dig it up, but I did read. I think what it's doing, the mRNA, it's they don't really deny this, but it's clipping and substituting a strand of DNA in your entire genome map, and it's going to be like there's definitely various agendas going on with the various races and the regions throughout the world. But I think overall, if you were to just say what's the net goal here, it probably is population curbing.
Mhm.
And so you're going to have people that have kids that can't have kids. The LGBT stuff is working in combination nicely on that as
Mhm.
well. Questioning what you are anatomically is insane, but it's how it goes today. But you take that option out from people, all of a sudden they're going to misattribute the cause. They're not going to say it's from the COVID vaccine. They'll probably blame it on microplastics or whatever bullshit flavor of the day they come up with. Um, but what they need to do, since these people need their slaves, is you have to substitute the slave jobs with machines. And so you see stuff getting automated right now that are normally people functioned. Um, Self-driving cars, for
Mhm.
example, and delivery services with
Mhm.
drones and those little buggies that'll deliver your food at UCLA. Um, that's just like the microcosm, though. Let this thing go on and keep going, keep going. You don't need cooks, you don't need waiters, you don't need virtually any low-paying job. You don't need anymore. But so that's why I think it's like an inverse ratio. It's like get rid of people, bring up the machines.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
And I think it is we are at this sort of new thing is like we're talking about like 9/11 21 years later. Like we're forgetting that like we're
Right.
still in the COVID psyop. Like there are
Mm-hmm.
things that we're not going to know for 10 years. We're going to be like, "Duh, we didn't even fucking know about the X, Y, and Z, right?" But that's one thing I always bring up is and I've brought it up for a while. If it is depopulation, it's not going to be out. They're not dumb enough to have you drop dead. That's going to lead to riots. There's a much more judo way to do it. And I always say judo, like using your. I've never done like any martial arts in my life, but I'm almost like it's judo. I'm wearing flip flops, and I'm like, let me tell you about Muay Thai. But like, no, it's very. It's a quiet. It's a stealth. It's the path of least resistance. So like we're talking about COVID right now, right? And then little less. So, 9/11 still in the rearview mirror. 9/11 kind of Iraq, falls, we're kind of glumped that all together. Before that, much smaller, Oklahoma City. Before that, moon landing. Before that, JFK. There's a big one. That one's still a node. Before that, Pearl Harbor. Before that, 1933, Smedley Butler, the business coup. Before that, what the
Lusitania.
Lusitania and Titanic. Previous to
Hmm.
that would be the Zimmer telegram getting us into World War II. Yeah, before that, Lusitania, Titanic, Federal Reserve, and then what, 13 years before that's the Maine. But those are just, what are we doing? We're not giving them a whole lot of attention. So there's your key right there. Is it's time. Put time between it, and people just, even people who are invested in it, like you and I, by default are just giving it less of it because one, it's solidified. Two, everything's dead. So it's a cold, truly is a cold case. How would you pull off depopulation? They just give it a couple generations till it's 100 years from now, and they go, "All right, it's now come out that there was some Malthusian interest in this, but it's 100 years because by then there's going to be four new psyops." They're like, "Can we stop talking about the
Yeah.
COVID depopulation and start talking about how that the first alien ever blew his head off in the Oval Office, and we still don't know if it was the CIA or not?" Like, there will be a
Uh,
new treat to chew on.
the show must go on. They got to keep the revolving door moving. Um, the only reason that they invest any energy into substantiating those old narratives, because like most serious historians will tell you outright that the Lusitania was a conspiracy
Oh yeah,
by the Wilson's government to get us into World War I.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
Even though
yeah.
it wasn't the most effective thing, they'll tell you that. Even the Gulf of Tonkin,
Oh yeah,
we know that didn't happen,
straight
and
up didn't happen.
yeah, we know it didn't happen. Nobody denies that, and then most people would say there's malicious intent behind it.
The
But
Lusitania, wasn't it when Churchill wasn't he like a commander or something like in World War One or an at there's some at where they're like mapping it out and they're putting it into these circles of probability on where attacks happen, and they're just
right,
drifting the Lusitania there and then like cutting off communication with it, and it was
right.
carrying weapons.
Yeah, and the even the German embassy sent out a warning telling American citizens not to get on it. I mean, everybody knew what they were trying to pull. Um, Pearl Harbor, though, they kind of protect that one. They moved out all the carriers beforehand. The codes have been cracked. Mitsubishi and JP Morgan collaborated, etc., etc. But
They put
the
all the
History
old destroyers
Channel,
there. All the destroyers there were old ones.
yes, the History Channel will give something to the contrary every now and then, but only to prevent the Copernican revolution, where people understand that our own government does it.
The
Nobody
splinter.
behind it was ever tried. And the same faction, although all the people are dead, that faction, that American government, deep state faction, they never investigated themselves. That crew is still in charge today. And so I mean, they care much less, and they'll even entertain JFK conspiracies on TV. I go back to the History Channel because they're kind of the non-history channel. There are people that talk about it, but they entertain it a little bit. Every now and then, some bullshit CIA declassification will happen. I know that happened under Trump. Um, but they substantiate it only in the sense that they don't want some kinetic chain of events people to grasp the implications like we were talking about, what it all really means today.
And then I might be making this up, but weren't there like two revelations in the Trump papers that kind of never got fully fleshed out? I think one of them was like an examination of the Cadillac, and it was like there was a bullet with an entry wound from the front, like through the windshield or something, not or like at the front of the car. I could be making that up. And then I think the other was declassified that LBJ said uh like the night before he said like to his mistress or something like this is the last like goddamn day because he hated the Kennedys. It was like this is the last goddamn day I'll ever have to listen to Jack.
Yeah, he was having a meeting and with like a bunch of people that were like serious players. I think even George Bush Sr. was there. It's
Yeah.
at his house. And he was like, he said it for his maid, I think, somebody that was servicing the house. I don't even know what stories to believe. I'm pretty
Yeah, I don't
sure
even know if that's like
I think it was declassified, but that story was already out there because she'd
okay.
already talked. But yeah, it's like in the papers as this big deal.
Yeah.
Trump supporters are funny. Trump
Yeah.
supporters are right on the edge, but they still trust in the system of voting, and so it's kind
Oh,
of
I
they're
I
just silly.
I took the Trump line hook. I took it hook, line, and sinker when he first ran, and I do think he was a wrecking ball. But I think he probably got a talking to. But the only thing, like for me, it's like, guys, these are the Trump vaccines,
Hmm.
bar none. we can point out the hypocrisy and be like, no one wanted it because it was a Trump vaccine, and then Biden gets it and everyone takes it. And it's like, but let's really flesh that out. Is this the big one? Is this the king daddy of conspiracies? I remember in like 2007, I was 17, and I was like, I was having a hard time because I actually have clinical OCD. I had a hard time like bringing all the conspiracies together. I thought they're just disparate events.
Mm.
Lusitania, Federal Reserve, 9/11, and I was like, there's got to be a big picture. And again, I don't think my brain was fully finished forming. Actually, I think I was like 15. And I was like, there's got to be a big one. And then it dawned on me, I'm like, oh, these are all parts of a much bigger thing. And it was like, well, what's the end? And it was like the first time I ever read it. It's like, well, eventually they will become so technologically advanced they won't need us, so they'll depopulate and they'll keep Earth as their own Garden of Eden for eternity. And so to me, that's always been like
That was in a
that.
book.
No, I think I read it somewhere on like Wikipedia before
Oh,
even that was cooked. That'd be a great book though. But like I'll always remember that was, and I rejected it outright. I'm like, no one would do that. They wouldn't kill everyone in the. But like, so if it is that and or like a fake alien invasion, those are the two big daddies. If we are assuming that this is like one of the big daddy, fuck Pop and JFK, fuck the Lusitania, there is a cognitive dissonance when it's like it was the Trump vaccine. And it's just it doesn't address. It is as bad as liberals cheering on the Azov battalion, literal Nazis. It is no less worse to have people in MAGA cap saying, yeah, but Trump had to do it. No, is this or is this not a like World Economic Forum Malthusian Fourth Reich depopulation of the planet? If so, he's not innocent. But again, the web they have weaved is so complex and brilliant
it's
that
amazing.
you, like you said, they're so close. The Trump supporters, they are so close. There is a cabal, there is a deep state, there is fake. So close, keep going. But it
Right.
wasn't our guy. Guys, I get it. It's not fun to have the revelation that there is no hero.
Right.
But
Oh, it's got to be depressing, and then of course you also deal with sort of the principality. People don't want to admit when they're wrong. If they've advertised their support for Trump for years and years, they don't want to. Most people don't want to go, fuck them too. I mean, but I do in their defense, some of the Q-tards did get off the train when he started publicly urging the FDA to permit them to release all the vaccines to the public, which was
yeah,
all a dog and pony show, of course.
yeah,
But there's no coming back from that. As far as
no,
I'm concerned, or when he got on stage and he said, "I am vaccinated." Oh, just one, no booster. Get your sorry ass out of here.
yeah, dude.
I've never liked him for the reason that I think he's a Zionist. I think Jared Kushner is, one of the world's vipers and a soldier for Israel.
Didn't he pay
Um,
double for his New York penthouse because the address was 666?
666.
A little just, it's a coincidence. Okay.
Was it his penthouse or was it?
Or it was some townhouse, whatever the fuck, something.
I know. I think they were making RFID chips in there. I think he was
Oh,
involved in that acquisition.
oh,
Yeah, yeah.
better, better.
He's not a good character by any means. Uh, yeah, it's
Yeah, just a
silliness.
coincidence, though. It's just a coincidence.
It's also another coincidence that the first politician that in our insane clown world has an opportunity to get on a debate stage and openly hates Israel is just an insane. Uh, I got to watch my words here for your audience, but an insane quote unquote genius loser, Kanye West, total Illuminati puppet. I see even people on my sides of the Israeli coin that don't really see the woods through the trees, just like a bunch of people got soaked up in Trump and his anti establishment, anti Hillary rhetoric. I get it. I saw what he said to Clinton on the debate stage, basically called her a cunt.
Yeah, of
That's hilarious. Didn't
course.
win my vote, but I loved it and I understood it. Now Kanye saying, to hell with the Jews, get them out of our country. They're running our wars, are all Zionist wars. Circumcision is them. Genital mutilation. Whatever he's saying. I mean, he's no original thought. I think it's just another puppet, just like Trump was. And I think it's incredibly obvious. He's the most famous person in the world. and you don't think that he's bought and paid for? I mean, can we get serious a little bit? There's some type of agendas don't always make themselves known right away. They're not always clear, but in years to come, you'll see, just like with Trump, I see what they did there.
Yeah.
I get it now.
And I think you pointed out an important thing. We'll get to Kanye in a second. Is we could maybe say it's a fourth iteration of the not wanting to look at the truth. One is the uninformed. Second is social ostracization. Third is implications of the big picture. But I think there is a fourth, and it is as basic as if everyone's running in one direction, you want to eat the McDonald's because you need the calories, and it's your own ego, right? And that's why, like early on in this podcast, I kind of popped my own cherry with that. When I was 18, I voted for Obama because I wanted hope and change. In 2012, I voted for Romney because I was pre-med and I was like, fuck Obamacare. I don't want red tape in this. 2016, I didn't vote in the elections. I voted in the primaries. I voted for Bernie because it was 2 years after my older brother took taken his life. And I was like, I think everyone needs mental health care. I don't care how it's paid for. In 2020, I voted for Trump because I watched the sort of BLM riots take down. And I was like, well, you got to have someone who just calls it for what it is.
Mm.
By vocalizing that, like, I have been taken by both sides twice, you remove any sort of ego barrier. You go, yeah, I got tricked and it fucking sucks. It's not fun. But there is a huge barrier to admitting that you are wrong simply because no one wants to be wrong. It's as old as you just don't want to be wrong, right? There's a reason why I won't take down any episode, unless, of course, the guest asks me to. But I'll never remove an old episode. I hate watching old ones because I look at them like, oh God,
Uh,
look at what I'm saying. But I leave it up there because I'm like, grow from it. If it's uncomfortable, it means that I'm probably growing from it. And
yeah.
at just like that, I'm sure in 3 years I'll look at this episode and I'll be like, oh God, I can't believe I was arguing for whatever, XYZ. And the same thing 3 years after that. So that's an important fourth point. Your own ego. Just drop that one. I know that's easier said than done. To Kanye, I've been trying to like fill out my own sort of conspiracy on that. And I think the mental illness one that's too it doesn't a mental illness doesn't just blossom that quickly. If he would have had this meltdown, it would have been a while ago. I don't think it's fuck you money. I think fuck you money is dating someone 20 years you're younger and just say, yeah, I don't give a shit. Fuck you money isn't saying
True.
Jews run the world. That's I mean, truly that would be fuck you money, but I don't think that's what he's doing. I'm trying to piece like what would be Occam's razor then? What would be the purpose behind this? The
Well, it's taking so I guess I'm coming from a different standpoint than probably most of the people watching, but like the Fuentes crowd, for example, he's definitely hijacking that.
mm-hmm,
They've gone really soft on the white nationalists have gotten soft on the black question, the fact that they're different, that they're vastly overrepresented in crime, and they pose an existential threat in white nations. They destroy everything, we create everything. Kanye comes along and talks about the villain who's behind this miscegenation and this flooding of the borders, basically race mixing. And it's like, okay, well, he's a famous person. He's black. Maybe we should be nice to black people to a fault.
hmm,
We're in the same boat. And he could also be driving the Jews back to Israel out of the diaspora. Israel is the only nation that expands at a regular pace. And so they need to maintain the supermajority in their country. They're not breeding, like, I think Jews have a positive birth rate, sure, but I think they're trying to accelerate the Greater Israel Project, and they need to fill these Palestinian settlements, or Israeli settlements in Palestinian land, with refugee Jews. So, America is a big theater, and whatever happens here, everybody knows it at every corner of the world, i.e., George Floyd. You had protests in Sweden, for God's sakes, about that. Amazing. Um,
isn't Malmo, Sweden, the like rape capital of the world after they like dissolved their borders?
I haven't heard that probably.
There was a fun fact about Malmo, Sweden. I think it was the grenade attack capital of the world.
Really?
Not Baghdad,
Huh.
not Fallujah, not Riyadh,
Sweden.
like
What
Malmo,
was
Sweden, I think.
so who were
It's
their
right.
immigrants? Was it Africans or Arabs? I would say.
Don't know. Whatever. It was
Well,
they were one of the countries that just like let everyone in. We're all human. In Malmo, Sweden, which has like a is a like beautifully like first world country. They have like the famous like twisting tower, like an architectural masterpiece. And they became the grenade attack capital of the world in like
some people are just,
2016.
that's not just a racial thing, that's access to weaponry, I suppose. I can't make a
Grenade
grenade.
attack cap. Did I play Grand Theft Auto like every day? And I rarely use grenades on that. Like grenade attack
Right?
capital of the world.
Oh,
It's not
what a
even like
scumbag move. That's worse than a drive-by shooting. It's like, hey, suck on this.
it really is just total
Jesus.
just but so my own I've been trying to piece
Oh, yeah, but just to
oh yeah, yeah,
summarize,
sorry,
I
sorry,
would
sorry.
say that, I think driving Jews out of the diaspora back into the promised land is a play with them, as well as creating complacency from the racialists in America to not worry about, just to hyper focus on one thing.
Gotcha.
They always, this, kill many birds with one stone, though. Many, many.
Oh no,
So that's
geniuses.
just one possible, explanation for what they're pulling with him.
Oh yeah.
But what do you think?
Yeah, no, no, that and that's the other thing is like these conspiracies don't need to be exclusive to one another.
Right.
It can be, you can hit multiple targets with one bombing sortie or grenade attack.
I'm listening. I'm gonna grab a beer.
Yeah, you're good. So I've been trying to piece together just like, and this one's even more recent than COVID is it's ongoing. So that's always the hardest way to sort of spin together conspiracies. So this is obviously kind of from the seat of my pants. Is that the right saying? Is it is it is immediately after like Elon takes Twitter. So it seems to be look what happens when you give people unfettered free speech. Much like the argument for, if school shootings are psyops, it's to disarm a populace. Okay. If we're looking at then I think it was December 3rd is when someone shot that power substation in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And that's never happened before, despite the fact a red cell report came out from the Pentagon. Red cells when you hire your own special forces to try to breach your own compound. So like
Hmm.
regularly the White House will use Delta Force to try to like get into the White House.
Right.
Then you plug it up, you wait 10 years and go try it again. Because you have the best, and if your best get in, then you plug those up, and then it's called red cell. So a red cell report came out from the Pentagon in like 2016, I think, under General Mattis, and it was like,
And by
yeah,
the way, I love that. I'm gonna use that term
red cell.
a lot now.
Oh,
You just gave me a new one. I
it'll
love it.
completely open your ability to do conspiracies. It's like a level up.
Well, you just have my rhetorical devices too.
You
My original content. Another red
you
cell.
yeah, yeah,
Love
you've come in welcome, welcome. But like
that.
they used this idea and they were like, yeah, like a handful of like moderately talented shooters, not even Delta Force, just like someone that knows what they're doing across like two guys per city, they could like black out the United States in an evening. It was just shooting these substations. Obviously government facilities, army bases, hospitals, a lot of those are more hardened, have generators, whatever. But they're like, you could really throw most of like the populace into chaos. And it never happened since then. And I'd always assumed A, it was either a fear mongering report, or B, it's probably more of like a mutual assured destruction. Well, if we have A bombs, why don't we just wipe out China? Well, they have them too. Okay, so
Right.
maybe you wouldn't do it that way. Got it. Yeah, why do all these leaders meet and at how come you see all the world leaders in Paris or wherever the fuck and they don't attack each other? What's mutual assured destruction? Okay, all right. Why did this happen recently on December 3rd? Well, I didn't know this. I had on Joe Dolio. He's a Marine, a former Marine, just writes a bunch of like survival books now and basically how to escape the coming collapse. But he was talking about a report that was released, I think like the day before the shooting of the substation, which itself happened 10 days ago. They said that these attacks could start happening more, and they didn't say white supremacists. They said they could be inspired by anti-Semitic activities. Dolio postulates that they're referring to the Black Hebrews or whatever group that is, but because it's politically incorrect to point them out, they just called it anti-Semitic without openly saying white supremacy because they call everything white supremacist. So, but that's kind of another. That's one of the skiing things. Let's not get lost in that. How am
Okay.
I tying this together? I think that what they're going to try to do is, why did this attack happen? It's never happened before. Didn't happen in 2020, the summer of love. Never happened then. No one's claiming anything from it. And it wasn't in like an actual, nothing against the people in North Carolina, but it's not like he even did it to like Manhattan or something. I think they're going to eventually try to gin up that it was an anti-Semitic attack. They'll find a synagogue somewhere in the area, ignoring the fact that Fort Bragg's there in part of the area that lost power, except they have generators, which is where tier one operators are, but whatever. I think they're going to try to say that this was inspired, this was an anti Semitic attack, and it was inspired. And then they're going to conveniently find like a manifesto or a 4chan post, and they were going to be inspired by Kanye. And look what happened when we let Elon take over Twitter. And furthermore, trying to bury Alex Jones. I think they're going to try to gin it up to, it doesn't have to be anti-Semitic. It seems like that's the route they're taking, but I think what they're trying to come back to is free speech. They don't like losing control of Twitter, and they're not
Right.
going to go down. They're not just going to roll over and go, well, I guess Elon bought it. They're going to attack and attack and attack. As much as I don't think Trump is who we thought he was, it is undeniable that there was a coordinated attack against them, right?
Okay. So, um, I like where your head's at. I think so. Just like when we're talking about our respective opinions, I would say just the degree of separation that we have on the facts is you think that Elon Musk, do you think he's a good guy
Well, I was
or
going to say, I was rambling a lot right there. So I was going to say, this is all on the foundation of the idea that Elon's a good guy. If he's not correct, well, then we're back to butterfly effect is, well, then the whole model's fucked.
well, not necessarily.
Or is
I
it
mean,
just theater
all
under
players,
under
yes.
controlled
See,
opposition?
that's exactly
Yeah. So
where I
it's,
lean
so
100% of
then
the
this theory
time.
doesn't even fucking matter because the
No,
whole
no, it
thing is horse.
does.
It's
No,
all
it
horseshit.
does because the stuff with Musk is like whatever. I mean, you introduced me to the idea that Kanye West could be a asset in a red cell operation. And they're about to permeate a false flag attack on a synagogue that's inspired by his rhetoric, and probably another, in my opinion, another asset, intelligence agent asset in Elon Musk. Either way, whether these people are controlled or not, the end result is the same. So I don't think that's
Yeah.
a big deal.
Okay.
I mean, it's an interesting theory. Um, I think it would have to be a pretty big one though, because they just did it. Well, not from a legislative, from a public opinion standpoint, it needs to be a pretty big one. And
Yeah.
I think most of these are fake because people are getting bored with it, really. Like if you took me back to 2016, where I think most of those false flags were fake, by the way, but that included Orlando. In Europe, they were crazy with them. Munich,
Nice,
remember
France, the
Nice
Bataclan. Yeah.
the Nice truck attack? I think you just said France.
Yeah.
Yeah,
86 people with a dump truck or something.
yeah,
Bro, I
and
can't do that on Grand Theft Auto.
right. That's a tall task. I
That's
talk
a
about it's the magic bus. Um, it's quite something. Back then, it was very effective, and people were getting like the shivers. I mean, nothing can top 9/11, but like Sandy Hook, which was one of the first of its kind, that was traumatizing to a lot of
hmm
people. Those days are kind of over, not because people think they're fake. I don't think enough people think they are, to make an impact on the overall zeitgeist, the attitude. But they're just people are kind of numb to it now. It's like, oh, that's sad. It's like, oh, really? Darn. They did a very similar one in Buffalo this year. The Buffalo attack. That white kid went and shot a bunch of black people at a grocery
Oh
store.
yeah, 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 yeah. That wasn't that
He
long
had
ago,
a little
right?
manifesto, and he had,
Some Dylan Roof
14
2.0
words on
shit.
his gun, and yeah, that stuff. I did a break. If people want to go to dreamestimate.com and search Buffalo, I did a breakdown of that video. I think it's bogus. There's a massive underrepresentation in blood in most of these events. Anyway, they had that sort of that mindset where it's like frame bad white kid who got brainwashed by free speech, people making
Yes.
comments about preserving white people, whatever it was. It from a legislative point of view, and a police enforcement point of view is very effective because
Yeah.
now it's like they can ramp up the defense against alternative media because how are these kids getting radicalized? And as you know, what they've said, the Department of Justice has stated many times over, our greatest threat domestically are the white nationalists.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah, yeah.
This podcast will have, I always joke that you'll know this podcast succeeded when it sucks. Because I love Tim Dillon. I loved him when he was just ranting and screaming from like a shitty apartment in New York. Now he makes the most money on Patreon. I think he makes like 250,000 a month. His content just sucks. I mean, good for him. He made it.
What?
Yeah.
250 a month
Yeah. And maybe it's
on
down to like
Patreon.
he's number one. He's literally number one.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But his news is he's just not funny anymore. And like, but I'm kind of happy because it means he made it. It means he made it. He got sober. I respect that. Cool, whatever. I like his old shit. I liked him more when he was still pining for cocaine. I always joked that you'll know this podcast succeeds when the content sucks because I've made money, but I'm now starting to think that you'll also know this podcast has made it when my podcast starts getting mentioned in these false flag manifestos.
Right.
That's when you
Right.
know I'll made it. When it's like, I just, I shot up this place. I hit 18 people, all pregnant Mexican women. And you know
Thank you,
what?
Tommy.
I just want to thank, and then it'll be all like misspelled and sporadic, and then it will like perfectly have the URL to this episode. I just want to thank Reese, Tomlin, and Tommy Carrigan. Reese is the director of An Infinite Dream. They gave me the courage to think for myself, and that's when I know we'll have made it. Now, granted, we'll be publicly hung, if not literally hung, but you'll know we've made it
Right.
when they drop this URL in a manifesto on 4chan.
When they come knock, just like old Bobby Fischer said, I have nothing to say to you.
Yeah,
No, no, no. We just want a few. I have nothing to say to you. Whatever you say, they will use against you. It's true. They're wicked fuckers, man. If they really want you, like we said before, they'll just
they'll get you.
conjure up a deep fake video
Not
of you
even that,
doing
dude.
some
They'll
nasty.
they'll just Hastings you. Your car will go right into a fucking tree, and but there's a liberation
Did
in
we
that.
talk about Hastings last
Yeah,
time?
no, no, but we can. Yeah, I mean, what he was writing a paper. He was writing an article on
Well, I was just wondering that you
McChrystal or
brought that up.
Petraeus. Yeah,
I was
McChrystal
talking
or
to somebody else
Petraeus.
about that recently. Yeah, that was
Yeah, they just his car hit like 200 hits. His car just broke the sound barrier or
Did you
something. And
see did you see the security cam from the store nearby that showed him flying through the
yeah,
red light?
yeah, and the
And
fucking
his brake
engine.
lights were on. His brake
Yeah,
lights were on.
yeah. Don't
Yeah.
mention all the emails he was sending out to his family saying, "I think I'm being followed." Yeah, and then the engine was physically removed from the car, which what a coincidence was the first time ever. It's always got to happen. There's always got to be a first time.
It
But
evaporated like the plane in Shanksville.
yeah, it's just first time ever. Now, granted, a steel structure building's never been taken down by a fire. I'm not above saying it could happen, but the first time ever was 9/11.
Well,
That's a
three
coin.
times. Three
Oh yeah,
times.
that's a
Yeah.
coin. That's a quinky dink. Is yeah, they'll drop Hastings. Do you think? I gotta pee again. I was gonna say, do you think? I at least break the seal and then have to pee multiple times. How come they haven't waxed Snowden? Is he a limited hangout?
Yes.
Okay. Well, monologue on that. Take it away, Reese.
Okay. Um, Edward Snowden was not the first whistleblower with the NSA. There were many, well, at least three that I can think of, but I can't name them. Apologies. But if push comes to shove, I can go and dig them up. There were other former NSA employees who did blow the whistle on the NSA. It's like you wouldn't believe what they're doing or what they're capable of now. Of course, the hallmark of a limited hangout is somebody who's affiliated particularly and uniquely with the CIA. Edward Snowden was a CIA asset previously to his work at the NSA under contract provision. Um, he doesn't really say anything. I guess that's the point that we don't already know. Overall, the objective of a limited hangout is to control the information because it's going to get out regardless, as well as a bit of a bluff. watch what you say because we're watching you all the time. Now, of course, they can do a dragnet on that many people and have an AI computer pick up hot words that recur with rhetoric from, let's say, domestic terrorists and everything like that. But it's also a scare tactic. You can't actively spy on 350 million people at one time. It's just not possible. But Snowden would like you to think that they are, and he doesn't. He's like Julian Assange. He doesn't actually reveal anything that was unheard of before. With Assange, it was war crimes. Oh, whoop-de-doo. Covering up war crimes, that's a fucking shock. Snowden, well, we're getting spied on. Yeah, it's no longer a conspiracy theory, but he goes and hangs out with Putin and Russia. And as far as I know, he is like Assange. Assange has openly poo-pooed 9/11 conspiracies, called it stupid, and takes away from real conspiracies. Snowden, just long story short, I would say absolutely is a limited hangout. And if he was a real threat, he would be neutralized. He would be neutralized. If Russia wants to hammer the United States, they can just reveal the truth about 9/11. They don't need to give safe haven to Edward Snowden.
I think that amongst other things, the limited hangout of Snowden.
And I love that you use that term. People used to say, they would ask me, like, I never heard that before. Did you make it up? It sounds like yours. I'm like, no, no, that's actually a thing. It's
Limited
an
hangout's up there
intelligence.
with it's up there with Red Cell. You got to learn the verbiage.
Yes,
We're creating our
yes,
own occult hierarchy. You as you
yeah.
move farther up in the ranks, we'll give you the false
This
flag is
is
the entrance level vocab. We'll get you up there.
amateur shit.
Yeah.
This is, yeah, I mean, even look at Tommy. He taught me one tonight. I mean, we can go back and forth. I don't mean to come off as esoteric. I think while you were gone, I did explain what a limited hangout meant,
Okay.
but it's basically you're revealing something to control the information because it's going to be revealed regardless. So
Yeah.
you might as well get ahead of it.
And you can
Um,
also kind of use it as a plug against other shit you didn't want coming out. You can keep the other
exactly.
90% under the surface of the iceberg and go, all right, listen, this is what it is. And people stop.
Right.
They go, I got it. I got the nugget of truth. And then they don't look behind the curtain.
I
It's
would like to see the full scope of the church committee and their hearing on Operation Mockingbird.
yeah. Oh yeah.
And that was released to the public and it was on TV and shit, um, as a limited hangout.
Yeah.
But I know that they only released 5 to 10% of what they actually learned through those hearings.
Well, and they just destroyed most of the MK Ultra shit. And everyone just went, eh. And it's like,
Right.
but to Snowden, a great book, Poisoner in Chief, about by Kinzer, Stephen Kinzer, Andrew Kinzer, his last name Kinzer, about the history of MK Ultra, and I think it's from Sidney Gottlieb, and last
Oh,
name, same thing as same as the former CEO of was it Moderna, who jumped over to the FDA mid pandemic, Gottlieb. I'm sure there's no connection there, but yeah, the original MK Ultra mind control coming from Operation Paperclip is spelled with a K. Back in Vietnam, we were putting like electrodes into these prisoners' heads and literally seeing if we could get them to like fight each other like remote
mm.
control robot in the 60s. Didn't work, so we shot them both in the head and threw them out of a plane. But like to shift to Snowden real quick, I know that's a bit of an odd segue. I feel like maybe you need it. Somebody's
Oh,
listening. They're like,
mind fuckery is always on point. Yeah.
it's always, yeah. But I always think about Snowden and like so we have to again, it's like whether something's organic. Let's say like 9/11 actually just was what it was, right? Let's say we can't say that because there's molten, but let's just say we didn't have that splinter in the head and was actually just 19 guys. And as Sam Hyde said, it's a bad example, but talk about motivational speaking. You had 19 guys who barely spoke a lick of English, just put their mind to a goal. Anything can happen. It's
Yeah.
terrible. I made that joke in front of two of my friends who are uh, former Air Force guys, and they kind of laughed, and I was like, tough crowd, tough crowd. But with Snowden, you got to go, what is the result? So let's say 9/11 actually just was what it was. What's the result? We still go topple two countries where all the oil is. And you also have to just look at it geopolitically. We have now shifted the Overton window of acceptance for where the US military is. We're always around ports and stuff. but we're also very close to Russia and China. Now you'd have to accept the model that we're a nationalism and not an international syndicate. But we also physically moved 500,000 troops and a couple million tons of war fighting machinery very physically close to China and Russia as compared to the continental United States. So whether 9/11 was us or it wasn't, the effect is pretty much the same, right? So with Snowden, we got to look at what is the effect. The effect is it is now proven, right? It's no longer a conspiracy. Now the average person accepts that the NSA has god tier technology, not just Echelon and Solar Wind or Stellar Wind or whatever the operation or the projects were, but also X key score, which means that even if you start to type something in and you don't follow through with it, well, I wanted to go look up a 9/11 documentary. I typed in an infinite dream, but I didn't hit enter. I backspaced it, and instead I went and looked at cats on Reddit like a retard. Well, X key score postulates that even your keystrokes are stored. So what's the effect of that? The effect was that we moved from a conspiracy to almost it's really no different than like a presidential news press conference, but instead we just said it was Ed Snowden, and then we had, Clapper come out and be like, yeah, it was all true. But what we've really done is told the public that the NSA has god tier omniscience and they watch everything you do. There's an effect of how you operate day to day, from covering up your webcam to maybe not saying something. Self censorship is the end goal. That is the why you
Yep.
don't want us to. We want to train the people. We want to, like Gregor Mendel and like his pea plants, we want to hereditarily weed out the people who even think on their own. That's the effect of the Snowden revelations. So why
Mhm.
wouldn't that be? That is that any different than bankrupting the Soviets with the moon landing?
I uh I did make that point. There's an aspect of bluff to the whole Snowden operation, no doubt. It may even be a play on words with him. Who knows if he's a little orphan boy, snowed in. Um, I would like people to sort of fuck with their algorithm, their models, the NSA's models, by going onto Google and just with the keystroke thing, just fuck with it a little bit. Entertain me. Just type in without searching how to build a pipe bomb trigger,
Oh,
and then
good.
delete it. And so they have something to do all night when they have like 200 people that look up the same. They're like, uh oh, we got trouble. Yeah, just to cause them issues. Yeah.
When I was 16, I remember me and my friends, we worked at not my dad, my best friend's dad had like a door warehouse. We would sit there with like our little Nokia flip phones and we would just call each other, sitting next to each other, and just start riddling off names. We just start reading off members of Congress, uranium, plutonium, Washington, D.C., Hartsfield Jackson Airport. And now I wonder if that actually has had an effect on my podcast 15 years later. But like we would just do that
Well,
just
if
to
the
see what would
next topic
happen.
of conversation was you rattling off models of a Remington firearm, then probably, yeah.
Maybe, maybe. But then so we've kind
I
of like
do think, like I said, to monitor actively 350 million people is an impossible ask, but you can
yeah,
dragnet it and make it pop at certain keywords. So if I say throughout a conversation with somebody, Biden, bastard, kill, Trump, bomb, then you're gonna get hits at
yeah,
the
you're gonna get
NSA,
strung together.
you know.
Um, so it is kind of like parameters. I always try to imagine like what would it be like. Let's say we were
I'm
evil.
gonna get a visit for that one.
Yeah. If I have legal purposes, that was an example. That's not the Tommy's podcast does not endorse that. Um, but like I've always wondered like how would you if you didn't have the god tier power, right? And you just had to what you would do is you would make an example of certain people. If you knew kind of behind the curtain, it's you and me, we're in the Illuminati, and we're like, we both know that a lot of this is based on perception and shadows and mirrors and smoke. What really all you'd have to do is make an example of the few violators. And so with that, you can kind of leave it. So let's say anyone that does this, that, or the other thing gets visited by the FBI. who else is going to really want to call the bluff? Who else is going to want to go? So, like, I would imagine that they probably don't have enough to surveil all of us and take everyone down. But if 10 people come out and say X, Y, and Z and they get no knocked by the their dog gets shot and they end up hanging themselves or in jail, do I really want to be the one to go? They don't have enough for all of us. It's like, all right, you go, you try ahead. That is an effective, you want to control. What did the Chinese say? If you want to control you want to control 100 chickens, chop off one of their heads, they'll all start listening real quick. You kind of don't need enough to control all 350 million. You just kind of make an example of a couple. Who wants to be the one that calls the bluff and goes, I bet they don't have enough for us. Go for it. Do you want to be the one to
Right.
go? They can't. It's like that 2019 thing. Like we're gonna raid Area 51. They don't have enough to stop
Yeah.
all. There are those memes of like the U.S. government wouldn't mow down 10,000 of its own people. And you just had like the memes of soldiers being like, I don't know. Yeah, they will. It will
Mhm.
fucking mow you down. In that sense, I mean, that's what the Snowden revelations, the effect would have. Look what they did to one guy. And they're going to such extents to prosecute this guy. It means he had to have been telling the truth, right? If
Right.
it wasn't true, they would have said it's all false. But look, he had to leave his cushiony 6-figure job in Hawaii. Now he has to go live in an embassy in Moscow. It must mean that he really did reveal something true. And so everyone falls
Yeah,
in
the
line.
other aspect too, I don't trust him is uh, to quote Carrie Mullis, don't get me wrong, I like people. Um, but I do like human beings, but whenever I hear a story of valor and somebody's giving up a lot for very little and instant scrutiny and relentless, you know, uh, difficulty in life, for example, what Snowden went through, I don't my alarm bells immediately go off because it's so incredibly rare to have somebody that is so principled and goes through their whole life one way and then decides I'm going to toss it all out because I've had a revelation. Um, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's incredibly rare. It's a tick mark against him, you know.
To devil's advocate, you I guess you'd have to use that argument against me or you. Like, what are we getting at it? What am I getting out of these interviews with Dr. Malone and Dr. McCullough? Getting banned. I'm getting raped of I'm 1,028 episodes in and it's still completely financially unviable. I know that I'm doing what I think is the right thing.
Right.
It can
Um,
it can happen. I guess you just need to be skeptical of it.
Well, it's probably more true in your case, because you had a trajectory that directly conflicts with what you're doing now. I
I
really
also
didn't.
I also didn't have millions of dollars that I threw away. It's easy to
That
throw it's
well,
easy
that's
to
true.
throw away nothing.
So yeah, yeah,
I guess that would well, there is kind of an importance that though, right? There is an importance in it. And it's back to you and like the psychiatrist or something. Is when he's like, having the revelations and the gears are turning and you're seeing he doesn't like what the revelations are. Or it's, when people watch this podcast and they don't like the revelations they have. But then they go one step further and they realize that these revelations don't directly result in you buying merch for my podcast. I get nothing out of this. There is a pursuit of truth, right? That it directly inhibits one's ability to pursue it because there's nothing in it other than just doing the right thing and being able to go to bed and sleep with yourself at night and die peacefully. But whenever the revelation is something that the person telling you the revelation, they don't gain anything from, there's something, if we're having a conversation and the revelation about building 7 somehow directly results in you not voting for the person you were going to vote for, you would then have to imagine maybe we are operatives for the other candidate. But when the revelation is just, yeah, man, it sucks, but it's the truth. And you can move forward with that now and navigate reality more accurately. There's truth in there. So what's beautiful is if Snowden's actually, if he truthfully is who he says he is, right? And we're both saying he's not, but let's just say he
hmm
is. The beautiful thing about the truth is it doesn't matter what we think of him. The truth will just be the thing that's examined, and it
Right.
will be the thing that's reached. So you can be skeptical of him. You can be skeptical of me. You can be skeptical of you. You can say Reese is being paid off by these people. Tommy's being
Yeah.
paid off by NASA. If the end result is you reaching a truth, then it doesn't matter whether or not someone believes this or not, because we're just that's the beauty. That's almost like the divine nature of the truth. Is it's just you said the Copernican revolution. I mean, eventually it just comes out. No one maybe someone does benefit, maybe they don't. The truth is the truth is the truth is the truth.
Yeah,
And
I
there,
agree that generally the truth does come out because you've referenced the butterfly effect a few times while we've been talking, and it's like when you look back and it's like how did we arrive at our current setting? And it's like what are the chain of events? Eventually people will figure it out. It's just like a matter of is it figured out in a timely manner to where it actually impacts and changes the course, the intended goal. I mean, if 50 years people figure out 9/11 was something else, who cares if America doesn't even fucking exist? If America doesn't exist, who cares? There's nobody to hit back at. There's no
I
institution to hit back at or person.
I would say that there's still a value in that. And one, you kind of see again the the very noble goal of the truth is that oftentimes it isn't revealed in your lifetime. So there is
Mhm.
a selfless nature to it, right? You don't it is very rare you get vindicated and I told you so. Very rare. Um, but if your goal really is the truth, then you won't care about that. You will be humbled and you'll approach that. So then it could be, let's say America falls, and what does it even matter? I would say it does matter, because eventually someone with enough brain cells will understand that history repeats itself, that human collusion and conspiracies exist, whether it's stabbing Caesar or knocking down Building 7. You will start to do what? Pattern recognition. And you will go, hey, I know America doesn't exist anymore. And now the union of Chinese and Indonesian countries is the whatever the fuck. You will still eventually, through enough examination, understand that America did exist at one time. It existed of a power structure that controlled the media and who wanted to directly subvert the will of the people. You will then have to acknowledge 9/11, the Lusitania, JFK, and move forward from there. So, like, we can cite
Yeah.
Galileo or Copernicus or Bruno or any of the other guys burned at the stake. That there's 200 years before America existed. But we can still cite them as factual examples of pursuing the truth in the face of the church didn't want it because it erodes their power. We're talking about people back when the big technology was boats with sails. Yet it is still
Right.
applicable in an age where we're doing a podcast live streaming at the speed of light. So I would say that there is a no, there's no one to push back. You and I can't go and find the guys that burned the astronomer at their stake. They're 30 generations ago.
No, it does. People will observe it, and there'll be people like us. Although that may be on a pressure cooker as well, because, or excuse me, on a there may be some time constraint on that depending on what the standard of human being is in the future.
Yeah.
If this vaccine is what I think it is, there are many things going on. We might have an epidemic of autism straight
Yeah.
up,
You might
except for, yeah,
literally start changing
what
the
it means to be
composition of
human.
human. And not only
Yeah,
that, we're shifting more and more and more into what happens when the history is not written in a textbook, but it's online.
right.
9/11 didn't happen.
Yeah.
It's just gone. Remove it. Copernicus never existed.
There will always be a record for the powerful, I think.
They'll have their own
Um,
Library of Alexandria.
I was about to say that. I think when that shit burned down, a lot of people, I do think it was arson, and I think some powerful
Think there's like an
collective
esoteric copy
snuck out.
somewhere.
Yeah, they snuck out the most important publishings, probably. But maybe even the keys to infinite energy pre-Tesla. Who knows? Who knows what goes on with them? I did want to ask you, what do you think of this goofball? It's kind of doing what you're doing. Lex Friedman.
So to quote Tim, I guess I can go an entire podcast talking about conspiracies and pattern recognition and thinking independently, but then like an NPC, I just quote Tim Dillon. So maybe I am subject to the deep state machinations. But
Yeah.
he goes, whenever I see someone in a uniform, it just immediately throws me because I'm like, now there's a shtick. But I first kind of discovered him, I want to say in like 2016, and I always thought the uniform was weird, but I guess I maybe kind of understood it. I have like an unchanging background. It's a flag, and maybe this is my kind of 2 cents on him and really anyone else on YouTube. Is you can't. I interviewed Dr. McCullough and Dr. Malone both multiple times, multiple months before they ever went on Rogan. So if I can do it this is when I lived in Maryland, but if I can do it from a MacBook in a 1 bedroom apartment in Bumblefuck, Maryland, then anyone can get in touch with them. I've interviewed Mike Durant, the Black Hawk Down pilot. Rogan's never had him on. It's not a conspiracy, but I'm just saying, like, no one can argue that it's not because you could, right? To date, no big YouTuber other than Rogan, who then left YouTube, has had on Dr. McCullough or Dr. Malone. Let alone election fraud, let alone 9/11 conspiracies, but just the ongoing current thing of COVID. These people that hide behind the important Tim Pool, free speech is under attack. But if you start to mention something on his show, he'll say shut up.
Yes.
He'll clip it out, and people go,
And his
well,
scumbag co-host
yeah.
Luke Radowski was a literal mentee of Alex Jones's.
So this is kind of my 2 cents, and who knows? I'm still human. This might be a manifestation of they're making money and I'm not. I'm sure that's part of it, and I'm just angry. I'm not above admitting that, but I do hate the idea of aside from the whole clickbait thumbnails and all capital letters in their titles makes me want to blow my brains out and strangle a puppy. It's also
Yeah.
just the idea of they hide behind the idea of an attack on free speech. And some people say, well, no, they're actually red pilling because what they do is they stay in the boundaries of YouTube and then they post the real stuff on Rumble. Maybe, but if you really wanted to have an effect, what you would do is you would take your well-known channel and then get banned, and people would go, why did that happen?
Right.
So this goes for Lex Friedman, who I don't know. Maybe he's a good. I don't fucking know. But Tim Pool, I can't stand the uniform, the beanie. But Steven Crowder, whatever you think of any of these people, the fact that they won't address the problem, they'll point at the left, which is a construction, and say they censor everything, but then they won't interview these people who I can directly say is horseshit because I interviewed them. I interviewed them when I had 100 subscribers on Rumble. I got banned
Right.
from YouTube for them. If I can reach out and touch these people who have testified before Senate, are Joe Rogan's first and second most downloaded episodes of all time. Only today was Dr. Malone reinstated on Twitter. If I can touch these people for something as apolitical as COVID, not 9/11, not JFK, not 11, whatever the fuck, but just a collusion of big pharma with big tech and the government. But not only that, you won't interview them, but you will host very somber discussions about the importance of free speech. And my ancestors were in the concentration camps, or my great grandparents fought on D-Day. I'm sure those are true. Hey, I'm not going to take that away. Sure. But you won't even fucking interview these people. You won't even give them the time of day. You won't even interview them and say, hey, exclusively on Rumble. To me, I have no respect for that.
He's the new, yeah, he's the epitome of the new wave of horse shit.
I just I
Because
can't respect I can't
he
respect it.
culture jams people that we're talking about or ourselves, because
Who,
I watched one,
who Lex?
Friedman.
Okay.
He gets on there and he goes, yeah, I mean, some people think I'm an FBI agent. I don't think he's FBI. I think he's another Jew in the media that's commissioned to do this. And he talks about limited hangouts in media. Him and Rogan talked about, do you think that you're around CIA agents? I
Yeah.
think Rogan is a CIA asset. I don't think he's an agent. But the most popular podcaster in the world, oh, you better believe
Yes.
he's compromised. They come off so genuine and so honest, so transparent. Meanwhile, they're anything but.
Yeah.
But it's like you take their talking points, compare them to my talking points. They're no longer vastly different. They've culture jammed the truth, and it's fucking rotten. Alex Jones used to do it before he just became a right wing nobody. Now these alternative medias, they're like the outer shell of the mainstream. They're not
They
independent.
yeah, no, they've been absorbed into the amoeba.
Yes.
They've been the tentacles are around them now, and they have become outposts of the empire. And in some ways even worse than the empire, because now you're betraying, right? The empire, you know that they're demons from hell, but it's another thing to just act as something else and
Yes.
betray it. And I mean,
That's exactly why I have such a massive distaste for the limited hangouts, the subversive controlled ops. Not for nothing, Friedman always purveys. It seems like he is a neutral, uh, centrist, stand your ground type of guy. I think his credentials are overblown as a computer scientist. People should look into what computer science is. It's basically philosophy of computers. It's a nothing degree. He teaches it at what is it, MIT.
MIT.
Yeah, he's this big old, smart guy. He's really not. Um, they come off so what was I saying there? I don't even know. But yeah, point is, yeah, he's not a centrist because people will come up and they'll bring up points that are actually middle of the road, and he'll try and draw it left. I
Yeah.
mean, that kind of shows sort of the left-right paradigm, how it's actually shifted towards the left in this country now, where a centrist is actually just a lefty, a junior lefty.
Yeah.
Um, he does it. He's admonished people. Destiny, that debater. He uh he admonished him for using certain rhetoric and says it can create a dangerous environment for people. I'm like, so why are you LARPing like you're pro free speech? What's the deal here?
That's
I
my
know what you're up to.
that's my thing, man. Is like I don't it's just
He wants to
maybe it's
lecture people. He wants to use his position to lecture them and try and get them to learn from their ways. Bad Goy. Bring it back. You shouldn't be doing that.
but
This is my favorite line for both of them. Him and Rogan are. But don't you think, have you said that it's like they make a good point or they go off on something else. But don't you think that really means fuck you, get back on script here, you know?
I guess the way I look at it like I look at it like post death. Like when it's all over and you truly can't take any of it with you. And is there another experience after this? Is there not? Is there not? I have no idea. Nobody can know. But like, and this might just be my own idealism, which will ultimately forever pigeonhole me as a backwater, just screaming in a corner about Ed Snowden and you and I just jerking each other off to new terms like red cell and
Go
shit.
ahead.
I'm almost there, but like, it's like authenticity, and I know that's so like oh my god, but I just Bill Hicks. I mean, dead at 33, but just screaming about like the military industrial complex in like the early 90s and him through his own psychedelic experiences and like rediscovering God and just wanting to be authentic. Just I think he's like screaming on some originally censored on like Letterman or something. And I think in his letter when he found out he was dying at 33, he's like, "Why God? Why now? I'm 33. I've been on the road for 10 years, living in my parents' basement, and now I'm selling out all over the world." And he like very doesn't dwell on it. He's like, "I guess this was my ride." And he's like, in love, laugh. I think he says, in love, laughter, and authenticity is where I will be. And wherever there's love, laughter, and authenticity, my soul will reside. And he's like, love you all, Bill. And to me, I'm like, there's just a currency. Like gold is more valuable than fiat. But I'm like, there's something even deeper than gold. And it's just being fucking real. And it's admitting when you're wrong, admitting that, hey, yeah, I voted for him too. I thought he was going to do the help and change thing. I thought Trump, drop your ego, but just be real. And when it's all over, and not just when American falls, I mean, when Homo sapiens are a distant bookmark or a footnote in the history of the universe, like, just be fucking real. And if you think something's wrong, speak up about it. Don't cower. Obviously, I mean, there are limitations to this podcast. If anyone calls for violence, I'm like, don't do that. Don't get me in trouble. But like, other
Right.
than that, dude, like, entertain ideas. Don't put your nose up at anything, no matter how crazy
People
it is. Just
people
be,
in all walks of life need to start looking inward
yeah.
before. Don't be that fucking lame ass. I could bring, the average person that I even hang out with today to a party with 10 of my really good friends. So they'd be the most boring motherfucker, nothing funny to say, nothing intelligent to say. Just look around waiting for other people to talk so they know what they should be doing. Just look inward. What do you want? I think people should really start doing that. And then from there, you can get involved with others and sort of put up a flag and see who fucks with your ideas and who doesn't. But um, with that being said, Tommy, thank you very much.
Fuck
Second
yeah.
interview.
Dude, we've
We
been
went on
going
for
for
quite
almost
a
three.
while,
Jesus
huh?
Christ in heaven. I didn't even realize that. It's almost been 3 hours.
Well, that means it was good. I
That would
really
mean
have
it
to
was
work
solid.
now, but
Oh yeah,
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 it
yeah. Of course,
was
of course. As
it
I
was
told you, yeah,
great.
we'll just wrap it up. Dude, I'd love to have you on again. And
How's your show doing though? Like where are your most views? Is it Rumble or
Rumble, right now we're sitting at, let's check it out real quick. Right now we're
you post
sitting
a lot,
at,
man?
I know, I have to. 12,860 subscribers on Rumble, and on Spotify we are looking at, give me 1 second. Click, 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 click. Gotta text my CIA handler and ask him what my numbers are.
Yeah.
Is 2,884 subscribers on Spotify. And then I think BitChute, Odyssey, Brighteon, Cloud, I think all those amassed to maybe like 1,000 total.
Ready
Um,
on. I haven't even heard of that one.
yeah, that's
Huh.
I've had him on before. Mike Adams. It's a
So
solid
doesn't it
one.
fucking suck? Because I didn't post nearly as often as you, but once you start getting out there and you complete something, and then you're like, got to do titles for all the fucking platforms, or do you have something
I just
centralized that
have,
posts to all of them?
well, no, I got to type. So I have an iMac, so there's just the Notes app. And so what I do is I'll pull it up right now. TPC number, whatever it is, and then it's the name of the guest, and then in parentheses it's the topic, and then I'll say in the
But you have
description.
to upload the file to every.
Yeah, so but
Yeah.
but then even the description, it's pretty mechanized. The hardest thing is when you have a new guest, and like last time I was like, yo, send me your website. This episode was with Reese Tomlin. He made an Infinite Dream and all these. Here's his other shit. Here's his website. Below that, support the Patreon, support the whatever. And that's just copy and paste. So once you do that, really all you gotta do is change the,
Mm,
so like right now, what I'll do is I'll copy and paste our last episode, and I will change the number,
right.
what this episode is. I'll change the topic, and then but all the links in it are the same. You got to pull it up, but even then, it's so muscle memory now. BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble, Spotify. You just copy and paste thumbnail, put them all on.
Right. Yeah, you're
It takes a
probably
minute.
used to it.
It takes a minute,
Um,
but it's whatever.
if you check out dreamesimo.com, if you watch Lockfire,
Oh
there
yeah,
is an original interview, whatever you think about it out there, with a guy who swears up and down that he was George Floyd's lawyer before uh 2020 and said he
shit.
died in 2016.
Oh shit.
So if you guys want to check that out,
I'll go down that
that's
rabbit hole. Fuck, do I care?
little plug. Um, and but yeah, I'm down to do it again. Hopefully,
Dude,
when
I'd
I'm a
love
little
to.
less busy. I think you're doing good things, and
I appreciate it,
I'll be
man.
sure to watch
Yeah,
you in
dude.
the
It's
future.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think you've seen is what other people. So I'm open to every idea. I don't. Again, so long as someone's not saying go bomb this address. Really, the
Right,
limitations are just so long as I'm not physically in jail. Yeah, everything's on top. I just when I die, I just want to look back and go, I was fucking real. That's all I want. Even if no one else believes I was real, I just want to look at it and go, yeah, I tried my fucking hardest, and I never said. But don't you think? If I say that, man, I'll get
terrible.
if I ever say that, just come here and fucking kill me. Just just kill me, man. I don't because that's already death. Just be real. For the love of fucking God, be real. Fast forward in 2 years, I'm sponsored by TikTok and McDonald's, and I'm like, the
Yeah.
9/11, those whack jobs. And you're like,
Right,
fuck
right.
Tom. He sold his fuck. It's me, arm in arm with Kissinger. He's 103. And you're like, that motherfucker.
You'll
But
have to gently walk back what you said before, yeah.
yeah, and I'll be like, I was controlled by Reese Tom. I was controlled by free speech. I was radicalized. That was right around the time. You notice how Reese came on right after Elon bought Twitter? I was a victim. I was a victim of free speech.
Boom.
Me and Kissinger,
Boom.
Kissinger sitting there. He's like, good the boy, just petting my hair, his claws. But enough of fantasizing about Kissinger touching my head. Reese, thank you so much, my
All
man.
right.
I'll text you
Thank you,
this.
Tommy.
Yeah, it'll be up in a bit. I'll text you. I'll link all your stuff. Let's um what's the name of it? Lockhart?
Lockfire.
Lockfire. God damn it. I knew it wasn't Hart, but I had to guess. Let's do an episode on that, man.
For sure. All right.
Absolutely. All right.
Thanks,
Thanks so
man.
much, brother. Thanks for coming
Take
on here.
care.
God bless everybody.